Hey gang, for those of you who enjoy QF, a podcast about Howard Stern, and would like to donate to us just via PayPal, you can, using the email address johnnythegreek21@gmail.com. You can check the link in the description for the spelling, and it's also here on the graphic. And if you'd like to do more in terms of donations or subscriptions, you can use our Patreon account and subscribe via the Black Kluge level, and you can receive our weekly content that we're putting only on Patreon. It's exclusive for that platform. And anything over $5 is just gravy, guys. We love you. Thank you so much.
Oh, he doesn't?
Dude, Howard, I've always wanted to know one thing. Did you or did you not get Robin Givens?
I don't know. All right, here, look, come here. No, I'm saying I
What
would
do you
never.
mean you
I mean,
don't know?
What do you mean you don't know?
No, I didn't.
I don't know.
No, I did not.
You'd have to know.
Right.
But if someone wants to fix themselves,
Different thing.
I am telling you that it is possible. There is no such thing as genetic homosexuality. It's fixable.
heterosexual.
I know the guy who can fix it. He doesn't even know he can fix it.
So he hasn't said this is a cure for this
No.
problem.
No, but I am telling you homosexuality is fixable. Hello.
Do you have a big dick?
Did you go into therapy?
You've never been to a psychiatrist?
It does. I like that. I like to hear that guys are whacking off.
Yeah. I don't want to be in a wig and a purse. I do that in my personal life.
No.
No, I'm just like a happy-go-lucky guy.
And all this is about having fun.
That's right.
Kat, what do you do for a living? And it's not one of those, oh, who are you? But what do you do for a living?
Really not.
You do therapy?
No.
Never?
I've dabbled.
I'm there every day. My daughter's 15. All her friends are like consumed with who's gay and who isn't. Yeah, that's like a big thing.
the new thing.
Yeah, right. They think I'm gay. Everyone's gay.
Which it was.
You come over, Tzvi. They named me Tzvi. First of all, fuck you. My name is Howard.
Why can't you just be Howard? Why do you have to have a separate
They had to
name?
give you a Hebrew name.
Before they worked weeks.
Nah. The audience gets mad at me if I take a week off. I can't take Fridays off.
I think the audience would rather have
How
you
mad
in 4
are they
days
going to
than
be
no days.
if you're not there at all?
Yeah.
Well, it's better not to be there. I believe radio is a habitual kind of medium. That people wake up in the morning, they go to work, and they want to hear their favorite disc jockey.
Oh, absolutely.
And if you're not there on Fridays, you are doing a disservice to the audience, and you're not doing your job. I don't think I'm interested in the 5-day-a-week schedule.
Oh,
You know?
it came with that?
Yeah. Well, terrestrial radio, you got to do a 5-day-a-week schedule. Satellite's different.
Because I drive into Manhattan every day and I listen to you, okay? And if you cut out the bitching, it probably would be about an hour of broadcast.
You're right. And you want to know something? Okay. So
Now, how long are you going to keep the hair?
I'm going to keep the hair as long as it keeps on top of my head. What do you mean?
There's a point in time that it's...
Is my hair too long, you think?
When you get a certain age, I think that the
You
hair...
think it looks silly?
Yeah,
You do?
Really?
I do.
So this is Radaman?
Yes.
Okay. Friend of the aliens.
Yes,
Right,
yes.
right.
Why are you people bugging my time with 4 hours of faggotism? I mean, Jesus Christ, man. Can't you come up with another solution?
Welcome, everybody, to QF, a podcast about Howard Stern. I'm your host, Fillmore, a.k.a. Jim Fix. And believe it or not, this week we are using some Patreon content on a Sunday for the first time. We just thought we'd mix it up. And with me today for this episode is Deborah. How are you today, Deborah?
I'm excited to attack another episode of Robin.
And I'm excited that a technical snafu forced us to restart because I wasn't recording the first minute. And now everybody gets their little, it's Zoom. I hate Zoom, guys. I fucking hate it. Sorry. We're going to take a Robin video to task where she and Stuttering John have a fight. The time is roughly summer or approaching summer of 1995, a time after which she's cured, with quotation marks, and she's a complete and utter fucking bitch. So we don't know if you're going to get the video portion or just the audio, but the audio is plenty, guys. Any thoughts on this before we start?
Yeah, I just want to remind the listeners that Robin had interpersonal problems with everyone. This is 26 years ago, and
Yes.
she cannot get along. I guess John was still an intern then, right? He started in 88 or so?
Yeah, late 80s, like 88 or 89. He's probably still, well, I think he's probably more than an intern, but not much more.
Maybe he's a $25,000 a year employee.
Yeah.
Well, of course. And so this is indicative of Robin's inability to get along with anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also interesting to note that she doesn't talk to anybody outside of Howard these days, and she hasn't for years. But she was very well entrenched with the staff and the Howard TV staff and the E crew back then. And so somehow they all fell by the wayside as well.
I think she enjoyed torturing the underlings because she knew she had that power over them. And it was some kind of sadism on a deep level because she could tweak Howard a little bit. She could only go so far with him, though. With everybody else, she could do just about everything to tweak them and to get away with it. And that's I don't know what Bob would say about this kind of stuff, because in the book she doesn't say. They keep saying she's cured. In her book, she doesn't explain that she's cured per se. She just explains that she's done enough. She thinks she's done enough therapy to move on with her life and be functional. But as evidenced in this video, she's nowhere near functional.
She's completely dysfunctional in this.
Fights all the time. It's kind of like a love-hate relationship.
No,
this is just another cycle.
That would be nice, and that'll be okay. But the problem is, Scott, is that all everything she's saying is all the stuff off the air is just manipulative actions of a madwoman.
Your anger at me is irrational.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Irrational.
No, and I think that more times than not, you off the air come across in a way that you don't when you get on the air, which is known as being two-faced.
I am perfectly honest.
No, you're not. You're not saying the
what
honest
I'm
thing.
saying.
I love the fact that they would film this.
Jesus.
Poor John, criminally underpaid for being on it's a cable. He was cable at that point, wasn't it?
Yes, it was on it in the New York area at 11 p.m. and then again at 11:30 on the E network. Two different shows.
Well, the thing is, at the time, even though it was a cable show, John was featured very prominently in so many episodes. He really should have been getting paid more. This was the time that, according to him, he was a Buchwald client very briefly. And he doesn't explain in his book. He's an idiot. He says he got eventually hooked up with Don Buchwald, and then somehow that stops, but doesn't explain how, when, or why, even though we can understand why.
Well, you're right, of course, and he would never give the full explanation of anything, not because he's being shady, but because he just doesn't understand. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But the other thing, too, is Robin has to control those around her the same way that Howard does, but Robin also used the E! Crew and the radio show as her social outlet as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Going out with Ralph and Stuttering John and
Grillo.
The interns, Grillo, Ganji, the cat sitting.
Yeah.
They were her built-in social circle because they had to take the crap from her. They worked there.
Yeah. It's like Queen shit. And we've got to, if Queen says jump, we say how high. That's the correct answer. So that's the other thing. Could let's say Letterman take interns out for dinner, much less fuck them?
Well, and that's what's weird is that if the roles were reversed, if a man was doing this, there'd be a lot of talk.
Oh yeah.
The only talk it wasn't like behind Robin's back. It was in front of her saying, I remember Howard at one point saying, why do you even bother with these guys? Why do you even bother with them? Which is
even more telling on his part. But either way,
If you really listen, what I'm saying is maybe I'm not so honest in life.
That's my point.
If you really listen, read between the lines. I'm lying.
This is like when Artie did an impression of Sal going on the wrap-up show. There's one point when Sal asked for the Seth MacFarlane's phone number and then said he didn't ask for it. And Artie goes, listen, I robbed the gas station. Hey, you robbed the gas station. Listen, that's bullshit. Listen, I robbed a gas station. So it was just a matter of, Robin not quite understanding or not caring in this case that she's outing herself as being a phony piece of shit.
Exactly. Like, do you not know what you've just revealed?
No, she doesn't.
And that's where we come to right now. You're not a friend.
No, I
in
am
real
your
life.
friend. I'm trying to be your friend. I'm saying what you want to hear. I'm commiserating with you.
Well, you know what?
And
no, but I don't want.
You want me to
I don't
be,
want an actress.
You want me to be
I don't want an
honest with you
actress
in real
friend.
life?
I don't
We
want
won't
an
be
actress.
friends.
Well, then.
Okay, so she's gaslighting, first of all, and second of all, she's giving him an ultimatum. She's doing this. This is what's going to happen if you want this to be a certain way. You're going to get punished.
And she's telling him what he's feeling, which is Howard.
Yep.
Telling people what they feel or what they should feel. And she's the master of volume. She just, if you continue to steamroll over it, John, why he must listen to what he must listen to what I say. She's steamrolling over him. She's gaslighting him.
Yeah.
She's delivering ultimatums. She's almost in his face.
She's just about to jump on
against
top
the
of
wall.
It
Yes, he is
really
against the
look
wall.
It does really look in this picture like he's being approached stalked by the Terminator, by the Predator. Which is this is the thing. Also, Bob will contend that Chicago Bob will contend that Howard is covert NPD. There's no way that Robin is covert anything. I think she's blatantly a malignant narcissist.
The big difference in the narcissist definitions of Howard and Robin is that Howard does indeed try to hide it and mask it under his guise of I pay for everything and everyone, and hey, I'm just a quiet guy at home. Robin is just loud. She's what do they call them? The Karens of today?
Yeah.
Like the women who you don't want to encounter in any kind of social setting or retail or restaurant. Robin does not care that she's screaming and screeching and steamrolling and gaslighting. She's kind of looking like she's enjoying it too.
Well, that's the thing. She's reveling in her narcissism. She doesn't. Howard would try his best to sort of keep that quiet in his own subtle, unsuccessful way. She doesn't make any bones about it. I don't think she. And is she aware of it? Probably not.
I don't. My guess is that she's not aware of it.
Right.
But she thinks that Howard is one, but she doesn't think that she's one.
That's right. And also, this would be in the early days, as Bob will say in the latest episode, which is coming out, which you'll have already heard by the time this is released, guys, that at the time, narcissistic personality disorders were not as written about in 1995 as they are now. So this would all, if you look back, it would be somebody like Dr. Todd Grande or Dr. Amani who would have a field day watching this interview. And in fact, I might just send it to her and him to do a little analysis and have fun with it, because they could just start the popcorn and just have more fun.
Dr. Romani, I follow. Did you know that she came out in not sexually in pardon me, in one of her videos recently, but she came out explaining to her vast audience that she's involved in an NPD relationship herself. And
Really?
That's one reason why she's so acutely aware of it. Yes, she was crying in the post. It was like 10 or 12 minutes and she had thousands of messages of support. But, I followed her regularly since NPD must be a genetic default in my family. I was pretty surprised to see that.
Yeah, well, it just goes to show you it can happen to anybody at any time, and you don't maybe you're a little too close to see it sometimes. And it happened to us, even at QF, where we had to, divest ourselves of somebody like this. But the person was quite adroit in keeping this behavior hidden as much as possible. And had a good cover for it. But either way, with Robin, there's no cover. She's being filmed. You can hear her every day. And you've got people like Howard who would actually see it, not knowing was looking at a reflection almost and pointing it out to her. So it was in a way fortuitous that they had each other to kind of pick at, because over the years, it's like a roadmap to NPD.
Exactly. It's like Goofus and Gallant in Highlights magazine.
Perfect.
Gallant is the covert narcissist, and he hides it, while Goofus lets it all fly, lets his NPD flag fly.
Yep. And it makes for perfect entertainment, but in such a vicious way, you do feel like you got to wash yourself afterwards. You got to shower.
It's like knowing two people who are both alcoholics. One could be very subdued and quiet and maybe sleep all the time, and the other could just be loud and obnoxious and risky behavior and that sort of thing. So it is an interesting bookend. Howard on one side of the unread books and Robin on the other side of her books.
Yeah.
Oh, then fine. Then we won't be friends, which is how I started this conversation.
So we're breaking up?
No, if you're telling me that when you go out with me...
Are we breaking up?
Wait.
Do we not want to be friends anymore?
I will tell you, if you're telling me that when we talk off the air, that you're just acting and not being my...
I think you need.
Oh, well, you know what? I don't need that.
Hey, Robin.
Oh, God. Wow.
That's an extraordinary bit of candor.
I'm showing you what I think you need.
Yes, but really just to be a manipulative piece of shit and say, look, this is what I'm going to take what I can out of you, and whatever I need to do to get it, I'll say it.
Well, and she's accusing him, and every time he opens his mouth, she doesn't let him respond.
Right.
And I'm not an apologist for John either, but
Sally Jesse, anyone?
Oh my God, Sally Jesse. I'm thinking of so many people who do that. It's pretty remarkable to watch this now, knowing what we know.
Oh yeah. But then go further down the years, guys, and we could, believe me, we'll address them based on what we have available to us. She fought with John later on about this trip to Amsterdam. That was a big Howard TV or E moment. But then also later on, when Daniel Carver is coming in for the roast and she has to leave her booth and she doesn't want to leave, and she's fighting with Gary, who's already, like, I can see Gary's a disorganized asshole anyway, and he's not bright, but she absolutely was NPD to the max in that one. She just couldn't shut up. She was shouting him down, trying to shout out, and he's like, "What does Mr. X have to punch you in the face?"
She steamed her cornrows off her head, and I always, for a long time, I thought it was because it was Daniel Carver who was going to be invading her space, as she said. But it's really just that Gary didn't ask her or inform her of it in advance. I don't think it was because the guy is a white supremacist. It's because Gary deigned to make a decision about Robin's studio without running it past her first.
I think it had nothing to do with that. I think maybe. I mean, the way I recall it was like they'd had her leave before in the past, and it wasn't such an issue. But now it was an issue. I think it really was because he was a white supremacist, and he was in her. She just didn't want anybody in there, much less Daniel Carver.
Well, I would agree that she wouldn't want anybody in there without her approval, the same way Howard would come into the studio on Mondays and sit down. Oh, who sat in my chair? Who moved my microphone?
My megaphone.
My megaphone. I've had this megaphone since WCCC.
Yeah.
But it's just interesting. So I don't think she cares that he was a KKK member.
Okay.
That's how much of an apologist she is to her own race. She doesn't even give a shit about that.
Yeah, exactly.
As long as you're here and they got him here.
Here we go.
I know that you and Stuttering John are like having
No, we're not having any
falling
fight.
out.
We are not having any fight.
Stuttering John had a surprise party, and I know I couldn't be there, so they asked me to sign a giant birthday card.
Yes.
To Stuttering John, and I signed the card, Stuttering John. And you refused to sign it?
Yes.
Why? Why are you involved in things like this?
I'm not
Just sign
involved in anything.
Why are you always having a war with
John
people?
doesn't like me anymore.
Yeah.
So I said, why would anybody ask me to sign?
Robin.
Okay, we're going to let this play out a little bit more, and then we'll comment on it.
It's because Robin tells me that off the air, she only tells me what I need to hear.
You don't even want to hear that.
And on the air, she's the real Robin. But outside the studio, to me, she's all phony.
What's wrong with that?
Oh, then who wants to hang out with somebody who's all phony all the time?
I see.
And that's what I said. I go, all right, well, if you're all phony, then...
Now, Robin, was this the old you or the new you?
No, he said to me, this is the new me.
That wouldn't sign.
And why would, somebody tells you I don't like you.
Right.
I didn't even...
Okay, so...
Good God.
This is this is the smoking gun for Bob, if he wants to hear this. I'm sure he's already heard it, but... he said, immediately Howard said, what's wrong with that? Like, what's wrong with being a phony off the air? Which is exactly what he is.
Well, right. He could relate to that. And first, I loved that theme music of Robin's, that original theme music. That's
you mentioned in the past, yeah.
Oh God, it's just the greatest, especially when Fred plays it through to the end.
Yeah.
It's like the extended play version.
It's a perfect juxtaposition. This calm, like newsy, like inoffensive jingle, and this complete psychopath raving about something that only makes sense to her,
which is the Hill Street Blues theme song, right? The music, rather, not the theme song. Same with MASH, just showing war, and then you have that instrumental.
Poignant, yeah.
Yes, very poignant. Robin is out of control here, and I think Howard's actually is good because he was good when he was an orchestrator, when he was a conductor, rather.
Conductor, yeah.
Yes, he brought nothing to the table, but he was good at sort of orchestrating the different people in the studio and and granted, insulting them.
He could arrange the toy soldiers in a way that could make them look like make it work.
Right.
But he himself could not, it's exactly like a kid's pet project, or like a history project. You get the little toy soldiers, you arrange the battlefield, you can dress it up. If it's just you explaining about it, it's maybe not that interesting. But when you have the visuals, all of a sudden, boom, you add these little elements, these whatever, to change tones and adjust, make it look like a better package. You're right. He was better at coordinating that, I suppose. If you can call it coordination, I think it was just creating a space where bad behavior was encouraged.
and everybody was up to be mocked, and nothing was off limits. So Fred's playing the Robin theme music, and poor John is stuttering, and Howard is questioning Robin.
But he also assembled the biggest thin-skinned bunch of pussies on the planet to be in the same room and be like Japanese fighting fish and gnaw at each other until there were scales coming off constantly.
Howard used to tease Fred about being defensive, and how he would say he was from Mars, but Fred really so thin-skinned.
Oh, worse. I think Fred was the one that he probably was the thinnest of all, except for Robin. I mean, it's maybe tied for the thinnest skins. Howard is slightly below the two of them because at the very least he'll have some kind of bluster inside. He'll cover it up and say, "Oh God, that fucking killed me, but I can't let it go," and he would just get angry. That was his defense, if you want to call it one.
Right. Robin would laugh. Fred would burst into a rage. Remember, he quit a couple times too.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, the Rainbow Room was the most famous. Tony and Tina's wedding. That was another one, and he's just a loathsome human being as well. I mean, just because he's silent doesn't mean he's not also a shithead, guys. Let's continue.
No, John was having a birthday party. His friends who were throwing it, I guess, or something, came up and said, "Robin, we have a big card for John." I said, "John doesn't like me. Why would you ask me to sign
Would
the
you
card?"
like you after you told me that stuff? Wait, you didn't get enough advance notice to sign the card for John's birthday?
No. What is he talking about advance notice?
No, she said that why would I sign a card for somebody who doesn't like me?
I wasn't going out of my way not to sign John's card. I didn't even know anything about it.
What's the excuses? Can we have enough of that fucking defense? I wasn't told. I didn't know.
The third party, they never told. Who's they?
They, exactly.
Right?
And also negating any possibility of culpability immediately. I didn't know. I'm not, we're not friends. No one told me. Like, if I didn't know this was happening, just own it.
She'll never own it. And then the outright lie comes. I didn't go out of my way to sign it. I did not go out of my way.
Yeah.
Like, how old are you to
exactly
sign the fucking card and move on?
Yep.
They came to me and said, "Robin, there's a big card for John." And I said, "Well, why are you asking me? John doesn't like me. They know he doesn't like me."
I always questioned why you were involved with John anyway. I never understood
to get information
But she liked to
for
talk
the
to you.
show.
Yeah, exactly. See? So who the hell wants to hang out with that? So that's why you were hanging out with me. To get information from the show, correct?
But I'm saying you shouldn't be so involved. You should just be like, oh, there's John. Hello, John. How are you?
That's all.
No,
it
because
really
she likes.
So you should be able to sign his card. No?
No, he announced to me, "I really don't like you.
I announced
don't
to
want to
you.
be friends." I was like, "Fine,
I announced to
that's
her.
all right."
No, she announced to me.
This is the same exact MO as with the Jackie fight later that year. Why would I, it's, in other words, it's John's fault. It's Jackie's fault that this is happening, that I'm not signing this, that I'm not talking to Jackie.
It was Howard's fault. It was her mother's fault. It was her father's fault. It was James's fault. It was the
Army,
never
the Air Force's fault.
It was the Air Force's fault. It was the Armed Forces' fault.
Yeah.
It was the Commander-in-Chief's fault. It's just
That's right.
incredible how
it was the recruiter's fault that I signed.
The pilot's fault because the plane was late. It's incredible to me.
Yeah. And I think knowing what we have, like even knowing all of what we do, and then in retrospect going through this, it's such a disturbing roadmap. It's almost like a Google Earth map. You know how you can adjust the level of layers. You know, the mountains. You can get the gas station right down to the actual houses. This is kind of what we have, that close up of people's houses and people walking down the street of Google Earth, Google Maps, and with Robin's NPD. In terms of her nuttiness, in terms of her just outright psychopathy.
Well, and I still can remember when this first aired, and I know I did not feel or think the way I do now with this knowledge of the NPD and all of the other elements that whole crew has. And it's just one of those things where you think, how could I not have seen it before? You know, but we didn't have the name for the NPD diagnosis back then, certainly.
Okay, but at the time you didn't think to yourself, boy, she's really a childish bitch?
Yeah, I thought she was a childish bitch.
Okay, that was the level.
That was absolutely the level. I didn't go any further than that. I just thought, Jesus, she's really on her high horse.
Well, and the other thing is, so you've got Gary and Bowie here, two fucking simpletons together. They couldn't think up a spark enough to fucking light a match. But the thing is, they both learned, and Stuttering John certainly perfected how to tweak people on the air and get shit out of them. But also Bowie learned that. And he got busted for it one time. Artie was in the studio, but he was reaching below the console, so Gary didn't think he was there. So he looked around and started talking about Artie to Howard during a break while Artie was there.
Whoa,
and then Artie's face went up. I'll have to play that for you one time. It's one of the funniest bits. And nothing was said that he didn't get in trouble, but he was busted, completely busted for pulling a Stuttering John.
Well, Stuttering John has no conscience. So it's easy for someone without a conscience to turn around and tell someone else what you were just told.
Yes.
You know, and that is how Howard got a lot of his information then, because John had no qualms about revealing it. Gary has a bit of a conscience. It's his bit of a stumble.
It depends. Yeah. It depends on when he wants to deflect off of his own foibles that day, like sleeping on the fucking job on camera.
Sleeping, the fight with Tracy. But Gary's conscience is such that he's not as psychologically damaged as the others.
No, I think
in terms of that.
Yeah, because at least one of his parents was absolutely like a loving, like a really caring parent, and I'm sure his mother loved him as well. She just was extremely damaged, and she didn't have the tools, and certainly didn't have the way to fix what was wrong with her at that time of her life and her generation. And then his brother being, dying and of AIDS and what have you. It was, Gary had a. He lived a life. Like he might be the most balanced out of all of them, even though he's a target in his own life. Like his wife is wearing the pants and the balls.
Well, and who better to be Howard's producer than someone who grew up with a parent who was withholding, blaming, unloving, again, blaming.
Right.
And everything you did is your fault and you're wrong. And that's what Howard transferred onto Gary. And that was very familiar to Gary.
That's right. And put anybody in the studio who's strong-willed, like a Jay Thomas. Like Jay Thomas, every time he walked in that studio for an interview, owned the room. He completely had Howard's every move countered.
Jay Thomas was a DJ on 99X in New York City in the 70s, and he owned the airwaves. That was a great music station. He and another DJ, Al Bandiro, they ruled. Yeah. They were not like the cool guys from PLJ or NEW, but they were really tops. And so at least Howard had the good sense smartly to let Jay do his thing in the studio.
Yeah, but I mean, he had no choice. I mean, what was Jay going to go in there and not call him out on his stupid hair and not tell him, like, I don't know, just don't do what you're doing. And I don't know how else to tell you this. I love Jay. Rest in peace. Let's continue.
That she is just, she's, BSing me all the time.
I never said
you said off the air.
Invention.
No, I have it on tape. You said off the air. You're
But you involved me in this conversation.
It was all on tape with the e-cameras, and she gave me this whole kind of rundown of how off the air she just gives me what I need to hear. And
why would you say something like that?
Why are you even involved with
You know what this was all about? This was about Fred and his wife.
Yeah, you know why? Because when Robin's with
this
me,
had nothing to do with me.
Oh my God! Wow, what a pivot! What a pivot!
Okay, she's missing a computer screen to look at and look studious and look industrious.
That's right.
In later years, that's exactly her move. When she's uncomfortable, look to the computer with intent. Like, don't
absolutely.
You're not looking at like some. I don't know, whatever. It's such a tell. It's such a tell.
Wow.
Now she's blaming Fred and his
wife. Holy God.
Yeah, amazing, isn't it? And this is also this is going to eerily parallel John's departure from the show, in which he explains in the book. Have you read Stuttering John's book?
No, I couldn't read it. I just couldn't do it.
Okay, I probably will. I'll see if I can get you a scan or a couple. Maybe I can find a way to get it to you. It's a painful read, of course, because it's Stuttering John. He and his ghostwriter Jerry Mandering were responsible. I told him. I think I put a review in Amazon saying, like, this is considering the imprint. I think editing is now a lost art because there's so many mistakes in this book. But the only good thing is that he actually trashes, his Buchwald and Howard and Gary quite a bit. Yeah, so it's worth it in that respect. But just I don't want to hear about how he dealt with the stutter. I don't give a fuck. I'm sorry, call me insensitive, but.
Is there an audio version? Does he stutter when he narrates that?
It must be. I don't know, 10 laser discs long. So anyway, he in the book, he explains that as he was on his way out going to the Tonight Show, he talked to Robin privately, who told him, look, you've tried to reach Howard. You've tried, and we know this, where there's evidence on the air, there's e-show, like video footage of him saying, don't talk to me about weird business. I don't care. And then at the final day, why didn't you come to me? So in the case of, and so he said, Robin said, you got to do what you got to do. Howard's not taking care of people. This is according to John. So take it as, if you think he's full of shit, then so be it. But he's twice in the book, he quotes her as saying, Howard, you got to look over your shoulder. If you don't start paying people properly, they're going to leave. And then when he gets on the air to explain the final day, she's like, how would you leave us for a low rate show, like a unimaginative show? This is a cutting edge show, and you're going to leave us for Jay Leno? She was a bitch. I would never have spoken to her again.
Right. And she really mischaracterized whatever conversation they did have, and John. John came back and on that show and said, you said this and you said that. And Robin didn't say she didn't say it.
That's
but
right.
She just steamrolled over him once again.
Yes.
I told you this. I told you that. And the whole thing, too, by the way, is Howard is such a weenie that he can't ever deal with people in real life. So everybody has to come to him on the air. Mm-hmm. And so, yes, many times John tried to talk to him. He asked Gary, he asked Robin, on the air, talk to me on the air. And remember, Gary wanted Howard. Howard was threatening to fire Gary at one time. Yep. And Gary said, turn off the mic and fire me. And Howard said, no, don't tell me, don't force me, don't make me do that, Gary. It's got to be on the air. So
otherwise it's just not going to happen.
Well, he has to hide behind the microphone and Robin his boombox, to have his power, to have the power that he had.
Yeah, he has to frame it in that way. It has to be something like a bit, because otherwise it's real. And the biggest fear both of them have is reality.
That's correct.
Robin and Howard, if they took off their blinders for just a second, would be scared shitless by the world outside.
Which I think Bob D would also say is an NPD trait where if you call someone on their behavior or their past behavior, or, hey, I thought you were going to call me and we were going to have dinner or something, they would never talk to you again because you called them out. In their minds, you called them out. Right. Really, you're just saying, hey, what happened? I thought we were going to go out. But they're ashamed. They're exposed and they're done with you.
But if you're acting in a surreptitious way, you got to play low key. You got to just say, "Oh, you don't know, you're getting good information." But
here's what happened. I went out there. John was fuming because he couldn't understand why it was everybody. It was all right for everybody else to kiss his wife but him.
Right.
So I'm trying to see where his mind is on this whole thing, and he's carrying on about Freddie having problems with him when he played with him.
Go ahead, yeah.
Freddie doing this.
So how'd you get into trouble?
Yeah, so
because Howard, mind you, Robin says, okay.
There, I think she's referencing what, Tina and Tony's wedding.
She would have to be, but when she said when Fred played with them, was that when John and Fred never played together, right?
I don't believe so. Not that I know of. I know that John was arranging. He had a band going at the time because that's hence the big grunge look, in 1995, which was hot.
Right. Remember, Fred he was asked if John thought he was a better songwriter than Fred, and
Fred always had a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah, he did.
One thing in John's book that I think he's 100% right on is that he thinks Fred was jealous of him because he got a record deal. And let's be honest, Stuttering John did get a fucking record deal with Atlantic Records and released an album, and Fred was doing King Norris. Whatever, and just didn't have. I mean, at the end of the day, Fred just did not have the self-confidence or the feeling of value, self-worth to go and try to push forward. And he did not have persistence, or he was not an A-type personality ever.
Oh no, Fred had the wrong personality to persevere because he took everything so personally.
That's right,
and John didn't care.
Yeah, I mean, Fred, and in music terms, maybe Fred could have been a session person or somebody like in the background, filling in making guitar solos or whatever. I mean, I'm not trying to talk shit about his talent or lack thereof. I'm saying you're right. He would never have been a good frontman. So when he finally does get King Norris and play on certain things, whatever, it's all about anger putting him forward. It's not self-confidence. It's fuck you. Let me show you.
Exactly.
Not a good place to come from.
Well, Fred would have been good, like in Steely Dan, the Nameless Musicians.
Yeah.
But John, I didn't like that kind of music, but John did have a sound. Fred was more, let me copy this solo note for note.
Completely. Yeah.
So Fred didn't have his own identity.
No, very derivative and very unoriginal. And Fred was that one thing Howard called him? Fred's a pub singer. That's kind. Let's keep going.
I said, well, maybe Fred may have this attitude about you. Maybe he's a little jealous of you or something. So then John goes on, and it comes a big thing on the air.
Right. Because I said Robin said that.
Right.
And I say, Howard, John's out there with all these feelings about Fred.
Right.
And we talk about it on the air. Then John wants to draw me into the argument. I don't have bad feelings about Fred. I'm not going to say bad things about Fred.
All right.
So, but I say to John,
it's okay for you. Yeah, but Robin, you being two-faced because off the air with me, you're like, oh yeah, maybe.
Okay, so Shades of the Bro fight, when she made up a lie about Artie calling Howard a jerk on the wrap-up show. So now she's making up something that may or may not be true, and I think she's right in this case, and she knows about it, and that's why she's tweaking it, saying, well, let's see if I could get him and Fred fighting.
Yeah, because honestly, I cannot follow her story.
Mm-hmm.
It started out where she and John, they were fighting. They're not friends anymore. Then it morphed into Fred and his wife and the band and the show. And I'm really lost trying to follow her illogic. But yeah, when they opened that show after the bro fight, Robin said, "Hello, jerk," and that's not what Artie had said.
No, and we know now there's no way that wasn't orchestrated by Howard to go tell her, look, when we start the show, you hit him with that. There's no way that wasn't the case.
Howard couldn't take that first shot, but he could pummel the person until they just rolled over and bled out.
Absolutely. And he's going to have his little, Rottweiler, well, not so little as the case may be, do the biting for him. And he can just go like, okay, that's enough. Or he can say, fuck it, throw another one into the fire, throw another dog at him. And so in this particular case, yeah, probably true. But she's essentially outing herself as being just manipulative, but also a backstabbing piece of shit. Because if you're talking about confidences off the air, on the air, you're inherently proving you're not trustworthy of anything. So, why would you trust her? Why would you confide in her? Even if she has money, all these people in the back office, they must be thinking, if I have anything really, really important, maybe I shouldn't tell her.
So what's interesting is I'm trying to think of a time after this where a staff member did confide in Robin, because I don't think it happened again. We know it happened with Howard and Artie, where Artie asked Howard not to say the stuff about the stripper and not to say that he was hurt about Dana, and Howard acted like he didn't know. I'm trying to think about any other staff member who, other than Ralph. Well, Ralph's not really a staff member, but
no,
this may have been Robin's comeuppance, because I can't recall people ever confiding in her again.
I'm trying to think in terms of work they might have done or whatever. Now we have it on good authority that Robin was telling certain people off the air when Artie was going through his drug phase, when he was really getting through the not phase. I mean, if your phase is almost your entire adult life, then yeah, it's a phase. When he was nodding off on the air and clearly just going into the depths of drug addiction while being filmed and fucking exploited on Howard TV, off the air, she would tell certain people, I've been telling Howard he has to do something about it. It's not right. The guy's fucking falling apart in front of our eyes, and he refuses to do anything. And that she was pissed off at Howard for just washing his hands of the whole thing and saying, what am I going to do? He shows up. They're enabling the guy. So they're on some level, and that never got out. I know that never got out because you never heard about it on the air ever.
But now that you're talking, Robin did question whether Howard knew or not. Remember, there were times where everybody said, oh, come on, didn't you know? And Howard said, he called in sick a couple of times. He shows up, and Robin even said, come on, Howard, you really think he hit his head? What doctor sees you at 6 o'clock in the morning?
Yes. And so there are things that she's absolutely told people, I would say, but are there things that people have told her? I would say no, most likely.
I think they viewed her as poison as far back as then after this.
Oh yes, and even later, when it was, because they were still tight with Stuttering Johnny, even after he left, a lot of the crew would still go visit him and hang out with him, whatever, when he was in the West Coast. And after hearing and knowing that Robin basically outed him and did not back him up, and went on the air and completely did not have his back and say, yeah, I'm sorry, Howard, I told him you weren't responsive. This is on you. That anybody with a set of balls would have told Howard, no, you're in the wrong.
Oh, of course. And really only Robin was the person in that position professionally on the air to do that.
Yes, who could have done it. And she wouldn't.
And she chose not to. Right.
Yeah, she was a cowardly piece of shit.
Yes.
So, I can't think of it. So maybe when we later on, we might think of some examples of people that did tell her stuff that they shouldn't have.
Hey, he wanted to get information.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what I'm talking about. So in other words,
Well, listen, I am the same as you. I always egg people on get it, but I don't tell them that I do.
I can't figure out if Rob.
I act like John's friend.
Howard, you know what the difference
we
is?
Were in the mid. I had to say,
Howard, you know what the difference is?
I don't feel this way on the air.
Off the air with you is even. I mean, at least you don't sit and torture me off the air.
Right.
Her show don't stop. Right. She tortures me, puts me through.
I've seen her. I mean,
puts through mental games that only her father probably did to her.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Is this the same? Is this the same clip where Gary says that he and Robin were? They went to see a movie, and just before the lights went down, Robin whispered, "No, it wasn't."
That was John who was
okay.
This was, I can't remember the exact episode, but it might be maybe later. Maybe it was later on. I think, yeah, right before the the lights went the house lights went down.
Yes.
I can't believe how unprofessional you were today. You just maybe threatened your entire job. I can't. I'm so disgusted with you. You might not even have a job when this is over. And then before you could respond, shh, the movie's starting.
What a way to make your heart stop. Oh, God.
Yeah,
but John's right.
Yeah.
Howard did torture people horribly, but off the air, he ignored the fuck out of them and just went about his life.
Exactly. He just abused you by not paying you off the air. But that was his form of abuse. When you weren't getting verbally abused on the air, you were getting financially abused every other minute.
Well, right, and not putting it together that people were doing things off the air to supplement the little income that they received on the air.
Yep. And and he's just admitted, I tweak people, but I don't tell them I'm tweaking them. Robin's like unapologetically telling them, look, I'm bullshitting you so I can get shit on the air.
Yeah, Howard was pretty upfront about saying, just act like, you're their friend and get what you can out of them.
Right.
I mean, he said that.
So I imagine, though, at the time that people felt if they didn't come up with material, let's say, by material, I mean personal shit amongst someone in the crew and didn't come up, then they were maybe not going to be kept on. I believe at some point they made it seem like, or it was told, maybe even was told, sotto voce, look, your entire life gets fucking brutalized on this show. If we need to film it, we need this, you're going to do that. Otherwise, you may not have a job here.
And I think it got even more vicious than that because Gary made a comment once about how he knew it was going to be a good day when Howard set his sights on somebody else other than him.
Yes. Yeah. And he said, we hate it when there's no guest because the wheel of shit gets spun and who does it land on?
Right. So they're just throwing each other to him like a bullfight.
Yep.
And now she's going to do it to me.
Right.
So then she would do that.
Didn't play mental games.
Well, whatever.
It's the running of the bullshit in Pamplona. Jesus.
Yeah, but I mean, all right, she didn't.
Her father was mental. That was the only problem. What did you do? You believe something?
No, I don't think so.
No, okay.
What?
No one knows what you're talking about anyway.
All right, but anyway.
All right, so you refused to sign his card.
I didn't refuse to do anything. I said, if John doesn't like me, why would you ask me to sign his card? I was trying.
That's refusing.
And what a position Robin is. Yeah, that's the definition of refusal. Well, what a position Robin's putting those people in. I said to them, why are you asking me when John doesn't like me? I mean, if that's not passing the note saying, do you like me? Yes or no, circle one. I mean, this is, fifth grade behavior here.
I was just going to say, it's beyond childish.
Yeah.
For someone who's probably late 30s, early 40s at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's
late 30s.
She's roughly Howard's age, a little older. So yeah.
Good God.
And claims she went and saw a therapist and that she
cured.
she figured out and matured. Yeah, exactly.
She was cured.
Okay.
Trying to do him a favor.
Right.
He's got a birthday. Why does he want to see the name of a person he hates on?
Oh, that's not refusing. Wait a minute.
I'm just saying, John has friends. They're throwing him a party. He doesn't want some person he can't
that he doesn't
stand
like, right?
on his birthday card.
But Howard and the old
that she looked down at their notes.
Yeah,
you
she started
right away.
Yes, like she's practicing her penmanship or something.
That's right. I don't have time for this nonsense. I'm hard at work. Leave me alone with this.
I have to practice my cursive. Come on, Fillmore.
I'm having a trouble with small b.
and what was it? I guess it was the Z that was the hardest, or the X. I can't remember, but
I never, to be honest, I always write. My cursive is awful because I had an awful teacher that really didn't. I'll blame him. I'm going to be NPD here. It was his fault. He didn't. He wasn't particularly good on the board either. And then when he made us do the the little practice sheets and stuff.
Sure.
He never really offered suggestions. He didn't say, well, he wasn't that great of a teacher, and later on got busted for fucking trying to molest one of the kids.
Oh.
This is years later when I was in high school and I found out about him. He just completely got, his teaching license, just taken away from him. And I don't think he did time, but he was put on a dangerous, what do you call it?
The sexual.
Yeah, the list, whatever. Like he was put on a potential
Sexual Offenders list or
Sexual Offenders Act or something like that, or the list,
Megan's
anyway, whatever
Law
it was.
or
Yeah, exactly. So, so as a result, and my printing is awful anyway. Like my wife calls it cute, but I know if we weren't married, she would not call it cute.
She's serial killer cute.
It's not. It's just like messy. Anyway, I know no one really gives a shit. You're not going to see my penmanship unless I put it up on a photo. But in terms of Robin, yeah, she's a complete. I mean, you release a book that suggests that you have become this empowered person, both with wisdom and knowledge and the experiences that I've gone through. It's made me a stronger, more stable person. But then it's completely at odds with every single video they release.
It is. It's like it's. Yeah, I mean that's incredible. The juxtaposition, but I mean these people are so stunted, and they're. I think at this point Gary was already married, right? Howard had 2 kids.
I think just about married, or now seriously with married, but not married. So but close, I'd say.
Past the Bowie love tape though, because he doesn't have that stupid.
That's right.
Hall and Oates mustache and hair.
Atlantic is.
Hello. Married. Howard's got 2 kids at this point. I don't know if John is married to Susanna yet, but good God, what a sorry bunch.
It just occurred to me, Robin essentially wrote her own comic, her own superhero book featuring herself as the protagonist. That's what Quivers of Life was. Like I overcame his adversity. And all of a sudden I'm Robin is triumphant.
She's the best she can be.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, if you could be, Judge Howito right now.
Right. Listen, I'm going to tell you about Robin. You want me to tell you about Robin? Want me to explain it to you? There are 6 Robins.
I count 10.
Right. There's the old Robin. There's the new Robin. There's the cured Robin. There's the Robin who engages you in conversation off the air. And then there's a Robin who engages you in conversation on the air. How many is that? 6? 5. Then there's 5 Robins.
And how about
God, that laughter is so fucking uncomfortable. That's just like Kathleen Turner in The War of the Roses and that phony laugh.
Yeah. Well, and that's like Robin's
defense.
Yes, absolutely. So, Fred blows up, Howard gets nasty, right. Robin laughs. So you're not really sure as a listener.
If you're listening, if you watch the video, which we are doing right now, she did the laugh and it was completely phony and then looked immediately down as if to say, busted.
Exactly.
He's right. Yeah, there are so many different aspects to me, but it is all the same fucking narcissistic asshole.
The nuts.
Well, my theory is she's getting rid of John because now she's got Gorilla.
Oh, yeah, and good luck. She's torturing him, too.
Okay.
Solely motivated by the material things. And when I say material things,
what do you mean material?
I'll elaborate. What happens on the show is what Robin is motivated on, not any of her relationships outside of the show. So in other words, all this fodder and all the stuff, all the conversations and private conversations that me and Robin had, were all bull. They were nothing. The only thing that is real, she has told me on tape, Ganji, the only thing that is real is what happens on the air when she's a vulture, and when she's hypocritical, and when she's lying. That's when the real Robin comes out. Now, would you?
Okay, now he's believe it or not, like
vulture.
Do you? With the body language is what's fascinating me here. She's sitting on his desk, not looking at him, nodding, laughing.
Yeah,
kind of
grand old time.
Sort of embarrassed, but mostly happy because she's talking about her.
She's being talked about. That's correct. The spotlight is on her.
That's correct. And laughing because it's negative, and that's her deflection. That's her way of getting away. But you know that she was probably pissed as shit at him for saying this later.
Right. And that's again where her laughter is helpful, because you and I are watching this and we still can't tell if we know she has to be angry, but we don't see it because she's laughing and she's smiling, even though they're faced in almost opposite directions. And it's just a very awkward,
it's demented Norman Rockwell.
Where's the pitchfork? Right.
I mean, yeah. So, and maybe I'll have to talk with Matthew Schultz about getting a Saturday Evening Post mock-up with Robin.
That's great.
Yeah.
You want to be friends with that? I wouldn't.
You're saying that this is all a big game that you're playing to get information out of John, but it also sounds like you're a little wacky too.
What?
Well, he's saying that you're too involved with these interns. You should be. But you're.
I'm not involved at all. They think I am.
Well,
But see, this is my point.
You take her to the movies.
This is my point.
They go to your house.
She
How do they not
hangs
be
out.
involved?
She breaks bread. She gives her own information of personal things that she would only do to a friend.
That's not true either.
Okay, well, I knew half her book way before it came out, years before.
I do love Fred playing the cuckoo sound.
Yeah.
When John was describing her.
Yeah. So, okay, post book, because the book is April. So that's the whole point here. Now, this is why God having the memory for this nonsense is helpful. She released the book April Fool's Day, 1995. And like I said, John's wearing shorts and some WBCN t-shirt that I'm sure was swag that he never paid a dime for. And so that it's summer, whatever. So it's a few months after the book. And I mean, that's an incredible, that's very astute from John to say, look, she tells us all kinds of crap. And what he's essentially saying is, yeah, she'll tell you crap that she can trust you that you may not say, but she won't share the same compunctions. She'll tell whatever the fuck she needs to whoever she wants.
Yeah. And he doesn't seem to be, not that one would enjoy this, but he doesn't seem to want to have to do this. You know what I mean? Like he's not,
John?
It's he's not relishing saying this stuff about her. It's almost like
because John's joy was in like anything that wasn't like he would never mock someone for cheating on their wife, or he would never go like out. I don't think he'd out somebody that did something heinous. But he would have no trouble talking about Bowie having to look after the kids, or Robin's cats, or Robin, on the horse, or whatever, which is embarrassing perhaps, but not detrimental to the person's continued existence with their spouse or boyfriend or job. Like you're not going to ruin someone's job over it, perhaps.
Right. Yeah. He's not enjoying it. He's not looking really, he's kind of looking sideways at Howard. He's not looking at Robin. He's not really looking at Gary.
Right. He's uncomfortable.
He looks kind of defeated. He looks uncomfortable and defeated.
Yes. So he's not looking for airtime. He just really like, look, they want to talk about this. I'm happy to do this, but she's a bitch. And John, the other thing is like, you could totally get him wound up. But if he decided he was going to go off and start talking about someone, I think he would. If you got him angry enough, he'd say anything to Howard ultimately.
Oh, no question.
And
no question.
he would regret it, I'm sure, after the fact, but he would get it out. He'd be like one of those little wind-up dolls that you have to wait till that thing finishes unwinding before it stops, hitting the wall.
Yeah, he'd be a terrible witness or being interrogated because he'd spill halfway through.
Which half?
Even about the,
What about a father?
Even about the molestation.
Well, I knew that too.
Okay, but
everybody knew it.
Well, whatever. So I don't think she tells everybody that. So you have this like good friendship and everything, right? Everything's going along good. Then she comes out and says, you know what? I was phony. That's not me.
Right.
On the end, the one that hates you is me.
See, that's all your interpretation. I don't hate you. I don't hate you on or off the air.
No, the one that's always put, that's the real me. The one on the air who's always.
Jesus Christ.
Oh God.
What a fucking crow's nest of fucking dysfunction.
It is absolutely. It's a merry-go-round. It doesn't fucking stop. It just gets faster and slower, but it just never stops.
What did Artie say? It's a lazy Susan of shit and everybody's got to take a bit.
The lazy Susans. Wow. It's just goodness. Yeah.
At the end of the day, I have to say, like, there's dysfunction in every family, and everybody knows that. There's a certain level of it, depending who you are. But with this particular online thing, I think that's one of the reasons why it resonated with so many people, because they were such dysfunctional people, and it made you feel a little better about your own life that it wasn't this bad.
Oh, no question, and that's why I'm rewatching it with the knowledge and information that we have now. But I remember back then thinking, because I had a crazy family, just a bunch of screaming Hungarians, and this was a relief to me to watch and to hear this.
Yeah. And would you call it escapism?
That's a good question. I think that it made me feel less, not less alone, but less shameful about my own family's weirdness. Because here it's just all out in the open, and people are switching topics, and they're blaming this one and that one, and it went from Fred to, it just went to so many people, and now it's coming back to Robin. It's just, I think it made me feel a little less isolated or alone in my own situation.
It's funny. I'm looking at this show and I'm looking at the dynamics, right? Okay, so Billy's probably still there, Jackie's still writing, but you don't hear from him for this. It's fine. He'll come back in. It's like a sitcom. It really is like a sitcom that you can't write for. And I'm thinking to myself, the appeal of the show, especially even back then, was such that if Howard was really smart, if he was really not 79, as we keep calling him, he would have insisted that everybody make sure they get taken care of, because this is, I don't necessarily want them, like, if they're happy, if they don't have the worry of home and the worry of mortgage payments, then they can concentrate on being more social even. And then by being social, more stuff comes out. It can be fodder for the air. It can only improve the show. Instead, he had this stupid misguided notion of making sure they're so fucking hungry they got to go on the road to make ends meet, thinking that's going to create more drama. And sometimes it did, but ultimately it became negative towards him in the end.
Right. Well, it's the opposite of what successful companies like Apple and Microsoft do, and Amazon, right, where they have, you don't pay. I have a cousin who works for Microsoft. He doesn't pay for lunch. He doesn't pay for dry cleaning. They bring in massage therapists. They have on-site. They have on-site dentists. So while you're there, you just have to work. You don't have to worry about anything else. And there's shuttles that take you to and from the office. You don't even have to drive your car. So Howard adopted the complete opposite viewpoint and approach. And you have these guys running around, opening up pizzerias and car dealerships on the weekends, getting 4 hours of sleep during the week. Yeah. Everybody's fighting. Everybody's overeating, or as Bob D said, they have some substance abuse problem.
It's so short-sighted, and ultimately, that's why that's one of a myriad of reasons why we think he's such a fucking idiot. Because if he would have incentivized them just a little bit, and given them some kind of out somehow. I don't care if it's like happy endings after work or something like, something to make them leave the job with a smile on their face. And it may not be because, in an interview, it may actually be because it's remuneration. Hey guys, we're giving you a bonus. We just added Cincinnati. So everybody's getting a $5,000 bonus every time we get a new syndication market. Fuck it. Jesus Christ. People will be floating out the building.
Of course. Well, and that's why it's, what's the number one reason why people leave companies? Because of how they're treated.
Yeah, absolutely.
But Howard was too busy counting his own marbles and what he could get than to give a shit about anybody else there.
Yeah, that's why I maintain that the real brains were the people around him, the people propping him up, and ultimately the fact that he was saved by the lack of internet back then.
Oh yeah, this was. I remember. So this was, I mentioned earlier, broadcast at 11 and 11:30, two separate episodes, and then rerun at 2 a.m. and 2:30. And so I couldn't sleep. I would watch these two episodes on E, then I'd watch VH1. They had some sort of new music program until 2 a.m., rewatch this, and then go to sleep. And since I was watching this dysfunction play out, it made me, like I said earlier, made me feel less weird or uncomfortable about the dynamics I was dealing with in my own family situation. And he just took a moving, a speeding train, and he crashed it, Howard.
Yep, absolutely. And so let this play out a little more.
Always like, chiding. That's the nice one. Who's sometimes nice one off the air is not
Make up
the
your
real
mind,
name.
John. Either I've told you off the air and on the air, or I don't.
Crazy. Well, no. Well, I mean, listen. How can she not get me crazy? If she's crazy, then of course she's going to get me crazy.
All right. Well, very good.
I said, John, if I've hurt you that much, we don't need to have anything more to do.
Let's not forget that
Wow, discard, devaluement. Wow.
Jesus. Well, interestingly, so we don't hear from Fred, but we hear the cuckoo sound a couple times now. We heard Jackie laughing in the background with glee, absolute glee in his voice.
Yep.
Because John's saying the things that they couldn't say.
That they want to say.
Jackie has said it. Yes, that's true.
And also they've established that John is the guy to say such things. So it's not out of character. So he can get that. He can have that right. But it would be out of character for Gary to come in and start talking shit about Robin for any length.
Right. It was sort of like what Jason became later.
Yes.
Jason was the studio tattletale, the office tattletale.
The office bitch.
3 years ago, Robin didn't talk to me for about 4 months.
Is that right?
That was the old Robin. That
was the old Robin.
My favorite John and Robin story.
I think you're all crazy.
My favorite John and Robin story happened a couple of months ago. John and Robin go to the movies together, and just as the movie's starting, Robin turns to him and starts chastising him about something.
No.
And John says, "Wait a minute, I want to talk to you about it." She goes, "Shh, can't you see the movie starting?"
Howard.
John's recounting is fantastic. So let's play this one out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Howard, she goes to me, she goes, "You did something today that could affect your future and piss off all your superiors in your career. It's so bad what you did that I don't even know if I can tell you. Robin, what is it? Shut up, the movie's starting." So for 2 hours in the movie, I'm going...
Oh gosh!
I'm going nuts the whole movie. So she sits there. This is the kind of talk. This is only one incident.
This is Mr. Practical Joke.
Howard, she had me.
That's no practical joke. That's someone deliberately being a venomous twat.
Absolutely. You're going to suffer for 2 hours, and I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to know you're sitting next to me squirming, freaking the fuck out. Your stomach is dropped. You're sweating. And I'm going to sit here and eat my popcorn and watch this movie.
Yep, it's pure sadism, nothing more.
Oh, absolutely.
Wait a second, Robin. If somebody did that to you, you would have a fit. You would have you could care. Oh, yeah.
Howard, she once had me...
would have a fit.
She was having me crawl into the fetal position in her car once, killing me, beating me up in the car.
Mr. Practical Joke.
Why was
it?
Oh, that's a practical... No, that's Robin being abusive.
This is exactly what Bob said, what that Wiggy would do. It's just a joke. You're too sensitive. It's just a joke.
It's always those two default responses. Oh, you're so sensitive. You're too.
Yep.
I was only kidding. And then the fake apology. I'm sorry if you felt offended by what I said.
Oh yeah, the worst non-apology on the planet.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Sorry,
I'm sorry.
If you're that sensitive, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're right. Sorry if you can't take a joke. Oh,
exactly.
Because it's just you're the one transferring, Miss Quivers.
Oh, you're too.
You're being abusive because you were abused.
I don't know what's going on.
She's taking it on weaker
well,
people.
John, it's over. Now, what's the big deal?
You're in a position, Robin, to be, obviously, you're a lot older than me, so I'm, so you're in the, the higher position in our relationship. So I'll come to you for advice. So then I come to you for advice, and then the same person is torturing me.
Well, first of all, you got to ask yourself, why the fuck would you rely on someone who's clearly unreliable?
Well, yeah, and I was also thinking how perceptive John was by telling Robin that she's abusive because she was raised by an abuser.
Yeah. Well, supposed abuser.
Yeah. I mean, we heard Robin's mother. She didn't sound too warm and fuzzy.
No.
But John is he's really resigned to telling Howard and everybody else what Robin's behavior is and what she's doing to him. He's not relishing this.
And they're dragging it out of him sort of. But the other thing is, I'm sure he feels a lot more confident saying it on the air than behind closed doors. Although as we saw behind closed doors, it was still on camera.
Right. It's never going to be a real conversation that only those two know about because they're all incapable of having that.
And I'm sure Howard's not alone in this, but I'm just thinking of all these fucking dinners he's had with Steve Martin, and he's had with not Lorne Michaels, but he's had with Ben Stiller, and who's just anyway. I fucking hate Stiller. I can't believe he's the product of Ann Mira, fucking Jerry Stiller, and he could be that unfunny, and untalented. But the thing is, all these conversations he had with people. I understand Hollywood is meant to be worthless. It's meant to be a vacuous place. But what a waste of time talking to Howard if you're going to dinner with him, because nothing changes his perspective. He doesn't give you insight except to maybe show you exactly how fucked up he is. And he's not changing anything. Even if he did get insight from you, it's not going to affect him one way or the other.
Well, and that's a classic narcissist where they don't ever question their behavior and what they do. It's everybody else who's wrong.
Yeah.
And, we talked about this before. Howard fashions himself a disc jockey and he doesn't know music. He says he's a comic. He's not funny. He doesn't know the history of comics or comedy, or he doesn't know. He's never watched an SCTV episode.
Yeah.
He's watched just the first few minutes of SNL, which is shit anyway. He's nothing that he's claimed to be.
Of course not. And the gall that he had to rate comics in his, not just his book, but even on the air, and say this person's a genius, this person isn't a genius. Sam and I are going to probably next week do Adam Sandler rescinding episode, because when he did have him on, he apologized. He actually did seemingly apologize a little better than other people he's done it to, but it means nothing. It's just a means to kiss more ass while Sandler's still got something in the business. And Howard at this point would take Frank Stallone. I think he would go back to interviewing some people that maybe not because of how self-important he feels he is, but he could absolutely use it. That's for certain.
Well, he would never do this, but really the best way to save face is to retire now before someone comes up or comes out with some sort of, sexual molestation story or quid pro quo or anything that's.
Well, and we are working on something like that right now, but I meant to ask you, do you feel, this is what I thought the brilliance of podcasting is. Like we are doing this thing now. We've got our Sunday shows. We've got the Patreon shows. I don't doubt for a minute that there are the, what's his name? Who is the host of Jeff Probst? Guys like him, like a super fan. I don't doubt that even Stamos is listening to the show. I think some of these people are so hungry for stuff and would eat anything up and would agree with a lot of what we have to say. Call me demented, call me delusional. I believe that any ex-fan, even celebs that bemoan the fact that the show has tumbled to what it is, would love our show, would enjoy the analysis. Chris Rock, somebody who loved the old show but now doesn't even listen.
Well, no question. I don't think it's being demented. You and your guests and co-hosts deconstruct what he is, what he's become, what he was that we didn't see at the time because we didn't have a label for it. I think, right. And it's not done in that screaming over each other way that so many other podcasts do. Yeah. It's a professional outfit. Look at your equipment and listen to your voice, and you have an incredible knowledge of not just Howard, but culture and history and you name it. So I would think if the algorithm comes up when they're surfing YouTube or something, I would think that they'd click on it. And that's how I think I came to your Fillmore Files podcast a year ago or two.
Well, that's it. It's just a matter of getting the right tags out there. And so as a result, I understand the reticence of some guests to maybe want to come and be interviewed, but at the same time, I don't believe he has the clout now to do anything about it anyway. Because even if he can shut down YouTube, which if it's an interview, he can't do anything about it unless it's hate speech or whatever. I think that it's at a point now where he isn't listening to criticism anyway, so don't bother me with it, that kind of thing. Who cares if there are 20 channels out there with Howard TV stuff? We can't police it.
They can only police what Jason can do on YouTube and continually take down, old shows and such. But to the magnitude of what he would love to do can't be done. And I think Natalie Maines and Jeff Probst of the world, they realize that he's just irrelevant. Mm-hmm. And yet, before the first person speaks up, you have a whole bunch of people behind them, about to raise their hand. You just need someone other than Gilbert or Artie or John, Stuttering John, to say, Jesus, what does this guy become? And then I think you'll see them all fall down.
I think you're right.
All
It might,
fall
just
line,
take,
rather.
it might just take a Twitter post, like someone
Yes.
going on, say, tell us your awful interactions with him.
Exactly.
Like the same way
Right.
that happened to Ellen. And people, my
Yes.
God, when that thing came out, I can't remember who it was that started that, but and I'm sure a lot of it was bullshit tweets, like people just wanting to pile on for the sake of it. But I'm just as certain that there are the more detailed ones are most likely true.
Oh, no question. I mean, you and I have talked about things that have happened to me professionally, and I just had such details about what happened that it couldn't be. It was not disputed. It can't be disputed when you have that kind of level of detail, and then you have a lot more people behind me or behind. You're right. I don't know who came out first with the Ellen revelations, but
yeah, it's not that. Basically, I know bullshit when I hear it or read it or see it. I know it when, especially if it's visual. Like I can see someone in an interview not being, he's being deceptive. I can absolutely count on, I read body language now, and I'm actually looking into studying a bit more about psychology, at least auditing some courses just to get a little better handle on certain traits, certain aspects of the mind. But at any rate, I think it's a great thing. And I know we guys, we took like a little diversion here, patting our own backs and, giving ourselves some hand clapping that maybe we don't deserve. But I think it's a bit of a public service in a way by doing this.
Well, and to someone like Howard, you're a dangerous guy or you get him, and that's dangerous to someone like him because you're smart. You're not some stupid fan. You're not some blowhard who works at a gas station. You know what I mean? Like, you're a smart guy.
Well, that's his nightmare is people like yourself who actually remember, have this like elephantine memory of the show.
Yes.
And can draw on such a vast. It's almost like how Joan Rivers or David Brenner would catalog their jokes, in a filing cabinet and be able to, what about the time that such and such? So there's always a little overlap in case, one of us can't remember a bit or so all of a sudden. And I think that at the end of the day, even guys like Stuttering John, if they go off in their own time, like when he's too busy finishing off a 2-4, he would listen and say, look, especially the NPD episodes, because this is more in line with that, even though Chicago Bob's not here. And one day you'll sit in with him and you'll on a show with him and you'll enjoy it just as much as if you were listening to him instead. And there's such a vast reservoir of stuff. This is just one of the many episodes in which you could deconstruct exactly what it is about every one of these people that makes them the perfect dysfunctional asshole in the machine that is the Stern world, that until, he decided more recently that fuck it, I don't need any of this. It got me to where I needed to be. I got the money. I basically took the money at Sirius and ran.
He got the money.
It was the great train robbery.
Absolutely. And he's, as we've talked about, he's becoming Howard Hughes more and more. And Grey Gardens. Out in the Hamptons. And that's how his life is going to end up.
Yeah.
So he's not going to fight back. But, we're sort of like really good musicians who are taking apart a song and explaining how, how by the editing process or the production process, it came to be this piece of work.
Yeah. The other analogy is I think it might have been Bob. It was like a support network for disenfranchised fans, obviously, like an AA meeting. Hi, I'm Bill. I used to listen to Stern. Hi, Bill.
Hi, Bill. I stopped listening in 2012, 2013. Yeah. It's.
I mean, we could make 1,000 Jump the Shark videos with all the listeners. Just call everyone, like a bunch of them, get their all their stories. Eventually, you're going to get just too much overlap. But I digress. I'm sorry for the extra little extended bit here, guys. This happens sometimes, and hell, it's all coming to you. It's all
unscripted. We're just shooting the breeze here.
I don't have binder. I don't have a binder in front of me telling me when to queue up the next bit. So, hold on, guys. Let's go back into the what was it in the Jerk? Steve Martin says when they shows them the kitten juggling, he goes, "Roll the ugliness."
I'm published. I'm in the phone book.
Yeah.
I don't even know what he said.
Gary, you understood it, right?
It's so hard when you're a stutterer.
I don't know what he said.
It's so lost in the entertainment.
What are you saying? I don't even know.
What I'm trying to say is she puts herself in the position to give advice.
That's cruel.
She puts herself in this position that I'm going to look up to.
Right. No,
she abuses that by torturing
You
him.
finally got smart. She does torture you.
Yeah,
There's no question about it. So you got to have nothing to do with it.
So
That's
what
all.
I said. That's what I said.
All
You know
right,
what?
so that's it. That's the end of it.
Problem? What's the problem?
That's all.
The problem.
Ooh,
Jesus.
Yeah.
That's the end. So she does. So you deal with it. That's the end of it.
You
That's
deal
what
with
Howard's
it. Yeah,
advice
exactly.
was.
Or well, he said, yeah, just don't have anything to do with her. But how is that possible in that atmosphere?
Well, it's just so easy for him to throw these lines out at John, who's he's just drowning, stuttering John, and Howard is so cavalier and casual about just stop talking to her.
So, I mean, in this situation, stuttering John, what's his solution? To never talk to Robin? He can't do that.
Well,
he has
that's
to
ridiculous. How do you? Yeah. I mean, that's just an insane response from Howard. He's just, and Howard's loving this. He's loving it.
Oh God, he's in fucking hog heaven.
Yeah,
he's
really
like the
is.
Vancouver pig farmer with all the fucking bones of a dead prosies, like in the pig pen. And Bowie's happy as shit because it's not on him.
Yeah, of course. Look at Bowie with that stupid toothy smile.
Jackie's in the middle of signing CDs for the weekend.
Where's my Sharpie?
And Fred has one button. It's like Missile Command. He's just got one button to worry about, and that's the just on repeat.
He's alternating between that and the cuckoo sound for Robin when he can slip one in when he thinks Robin's not listening, and they're also playing a stuttering or a rooster effect for John stuttering. I don't know. Someone's doing that because I see Gary laughing.
Well, you wouldn't sign the card, which is pretty nice thing to do and pretty simple thing to do, whether you're fighting or not. It's a guy's birthday.
Fighting. But the guy
should have signed the card.
I don't like you. I can't stand you. I don't want to have anything to do with you. So I didn't sign his card.
He didn't say these things. What kind of bullshit low rent gaslighting is this?
Didn't she just spend 40 minutes talking about why would she sign the card of someone who doesn't like her? And now she's saying, did she say what I think? She said that he doesn't. She doesn't like him now?
She basically said right now, and I can replay it if you like, but she said, he said he doesn't, if he said.
Oh, he's okay. I misheard. Okay.
Yeah. There was a bit of talk over there between her and Jackie. So it's easy to lose that in the mix. But yeah. And if that's the case, I mean, but you say that this person said this, but they didn't. They're actually just saying, they're asking themselves, they're asking you, why would I be friends with you if you are going to be like this to me going forward?
It's so convoluted.
Yeah,
it's like in the third person, pluperfect. It's just the tenses are screwed up, and the thought process is so jagged.
Thought process.
What? What of this thought? This word that you shall not speak. Thought.
Imagine if your every move was dictated by your emotions. I mean, my God, you'd be Cro-Magnon.
Oh, I'd be a raging maniac. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. She didn't want to torture you.
But Howard, do you understand?
Well, I understand that.
Okay, but do you understand why I would say it? And then after all this,
it doesn't matter. John,
let me just finish my story. Fine, Ron, I don't care, but let me finish. I don't care if you never talk to me for the rest of your life. Believe me, it'll be nice. But Howard, let me just finish this.
You know what?
Oh, she can't shut the fuck up.
No, she is hammering it over and over again. Done. Enough. I don't get it.
Well, the again, it ties in, like, guys, you got to go for this. Like, if you want the visual analog, just literally put our Sally, Jesse, Raphael, Robin on Sally episode, turn down the volume, and loop that one section where she's getting angry at the audience member for calling her out on her shit. I don't know that there's a better example of this type of thing wherein Howard's involved, where someone's calling him on his shit, except that Jay Leno bit that we're going to go through one day, because he goes a mile a minute. He's worse than Rob because he's panicked. He's like a scampering fucking rat on a glass floor with oil on it. And he's like, this is why I did this. This bit didn't work. And Letterman said it wouldn't work, but I went on and said, look, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And it's the last refuge of the scoundrel, as they say. Robin, in this case, similar, just not the same diction, not the same manic, whatever. It's just literally, I'm going to talk over you because you're going to talk truth about me, and I have to bury that fucking truth in my bullshit.
Robin is doing what Tracy did to Grillo. Tracy was just talking over him loud, and they even potted down Grillo's phone, I believe, with the volume.
Yep.
And she's fucking steamrolling.
Except that Tracy sounded like she was dead on, and Grillo sounded like a befuddled mess of bullshit.
Tracy had every right to be angry, and she was very detailed in why she felt that Grillo was a lying sack of shit, as she called him.
Yeah.
But Jesus, Robin is just relentless.
Yeah.
He says, I hate you. I say, fine, I'm out of your life. Now you don't talk to me the rest of your life.
Howard, first of all, I didn't ask you to sign my card. I can give a frog's fat ass if you sign it. You know what I'm saying? But Howard, let me just say one thing.
Well, why are we here?
That he didn't stutter on.
No, but Howard,
Yeah, right.
Howard, let me just just kind of finalize it. So she'll come with me about Freddie, and she'll see I'll be upset about Freddie. You know, I'll be like, I don't know what, and then she'll chime in. Well, maybe he's a little jealous about your album. Maybe this, maybe that.
Right.
Okay, then I come on the air and I go, hey, Robin, tell me, go ahead.
My God.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I've known people like this in my life, and I've since said goodbye to many of them.
Of course.
A lot of them. But never with such contemptuous glee in their voices and in their actions. I think it was always just something they weren't aware of. She's, I think, fully aware of what she's doing.
Yeah, I think that's what's disturbing more than anything is she's really taking pleasure in this. She's
reveling in it.
Yeah, she doesn't let up, and the more that the guy physically squirms, the more she just keeps raising that shrill voice of hers and just
fucking beatific smile.
Yeah.
You know, like Ties will do that. Ties will smile when there's an argument to try to diffuse it. Like it's a normal thing. If you're complaining, they'll smile as if, you know, you can't really get angry. You wouldn't hit a bat with glasses on, would you?
That's what she's trying to disarm him.
Yes.
By smiling and laughing. But there was one quick second where she had the crazy eyes. Just might have been like 15 seconds before this.
That's right.
Still.
And she was going all over the place, and it's more reminiscent of what would happen later on with that Amsterdam fight, that trip. Which actually that was 40 minutes of, I don't know why it had to last 40 minutes. I guess you can't, because you can't let them not get the last word.
And it's just the only thing that would stop it would be time. Like it's got to end. Howard would have to say, all right, enough. John, goodbye. Leave.
And do you really believe that it ended there and didn't continue? Like,
no, it was in the hallway. It was in the hallway. She was chasing him. She was screaming and screeching at him, and he probably was throwing his hands up. Yeah. Oh, God,
yeah. Okay, so let's play a little more, and then we'll tap this one out.
You were saying this. I never said anything.
Right.
You know, you're two-faced. Turn around. Let me get to the other one.
I know you have these feelings. I'll tell you exactly what I said. I know you have these feelings.
No, that's BS.
I really don't
That's
feel
the way
that
that you rationalize it later on.
I don't feel that
That's the way you remember it because your mind convinces it.
Go back
Convince
to
yourself
the
that's how it
video
happened.
game.
Just like all your whole childhood.
I don't know what you're doing with John anyway in the first place.
Well, my theory is she's getting rid of John because now she's got Gorilla.
Yeah, and good luck. She's torturing him too.
Jesus Christ. She's commiserating about her.
Robin hasn't learned from John and the others. Now she's on to Grillo.
Yeah, like some kind of predator.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, no
just
pun intended.
Leave these young guys alone. Not just the guys, but leave these, let them be.
Leave these low-paid schlubs alone. Absolutely.
To feed her cats.
I think so.
I don't know what you're doing with John anyway in the first place.
Well, my theory is she's getting rid of John because now she's got Gorilla.
Yeah, and good luck. She's torturing him too.
Right. Oh, no more than you.
Oh, I heard about your cat letter. You know what? I haven't. I forgot to bring it in.
What?
I got to bring in the cat letter.
Cat
letter?
Oh, the little cat letter you gave the girl engaged about how to take care of your cats.
Oh, letter.
Little letter.
Howard, you should see it. She tells Gorilla and Ganji to call them by their first names and talk to them. I have it all at my house.
Now, it's not uncommon when someone leaves you to house sit or cat sit or dog sit, whatever, that they do give you directions. They give you little something to say, look, don't open this, it's broken, you can't fix it afterwards, or leave this alone, it's not mine, whatever. That makes perfect sense. But when you see the directions, this isn't made up shit.
Well, I've utilized dog sitters for years, and I would say, like, walk him before you feed him, or do this. But first of all, Stuttering John kept saying, I thought he was saying litter, but it was letter.
Yeah.
She left Grillo litters. She was out of her mind because they just showed a screenshot of her, and she had those crazy eyes, those wild eyes.
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
And he's babysitting he's dog sitting for Ha. What is that accent of his? Where's he from? Where's he from?
He's from Long Island, the same area that Gary and Howard were from, but he's got a really uncultured sounding voice and terrible vocabulary. So
no kidding.
If I would have known this was going to be the day, I would have brought it in.
It was a cute little letter. It was a joke. It was a joke.
I'm telling you. I'm telling you. She should go home in a straitjacket.
What?
She should go home in a straitjacket.
Fine.
Well, you're going to lose a friend for life.
No, he's already done that.
You know what's funny about that letter? I had someone read it, and they said, "Wow, who the heck is this?" They said, "This person's a nut." I said, "Read the bottom who signed it." It was like, "Robin wrote this?"
What was the letter saying?
It was just like, "Don't forget to take care of the cats and feed them this and talk to them, and they know their names, and I want you at least to spend 15 minutes talking to them." And
that's ridiculous.
Make sure they're not lonely.
Yes, it did. I have.
They're not lying. There's no way they're lying.
Well, the symphony of Robin's theme music, the cuckoo clock, Grillo coming in, Stuttering John, that was... it's still funny today, even knowing that he's a psychopath, or sociopath, rather, that Howard's a sociopath.
Yeah.
He got rid of all those players,
Yeah, and somehow Marcy told him that the reverse is better. It's better with you and Robin, and forget everybody else.
Well, for you and I said this last year, there was a time when Robin did the news, and she would bounce things off of Howard, and he would just go with it in the manner of Gilbert. That was really good. So Marcy's operating on 20-year-old information. At least 20 plus years.
Oh, easily, yeah. And I've heard early, like 1980, 1982, 1983 shows, and there's, obviously he still sounds like Kermit, as he calls it, choking a cock, but but he had the benefit of youth and more energy at the time, so it certainly was more lively than it is now. But when he decided it was going to go the route of, everybody comes in, everybody's a member of the cast, everybody comes in. It doesn't matter if it's an intern who's, slow-faced Bobby, the intern, or one-eyed Pete, the intern, or, Freddie Fingers, the, intern. They all could come on, and that's what made the show so great. So to whisper into his fucking ear and say, no, you're the star. And that would be like Seinfeld. The perfect analogy is always Seinfeld. That would be like saying, get rid of Julia Louis-Dreyfus, get rid of Jason Alexander and Michael Richards, and just have Jerry talking.
Howard talks often about jumping the shark, and of course he hired John Hine, who wrote that book. But the interesting thing is the phrase obviously came from the show Happy Days. Henry Winkler was not supposed to be a recurring character on Happy Days. The first 3 episodes, I think he was in like a tan jacket or a khaki jacket, but
that's right.
He made such an impression, without saying a word, or just maybe, I don't even know if he did the thumbs up at that point. But the funny thing is that Howard's the opposite. Howard makes no impression, and everybody else around him, emerge as the stars. Obviously, we've talked about Artie being the most popular and the person who everybody wanted to hear.
Right.
And it's just interesting that Howard talks about what shows and people and bands have jumped the shark when he jumped it, decades ago.
Yeah. Well, he always never understood that there is such a thing as chemistry. And I think it was either Buckwald, most likely Buckwald, who basically said, fuck it, you're the star, you do anything you want. It doesn't really matter. The show will continue. And what Buchwald was basing that on was, as the show got to a certain level, they could carry on without Jackie. Yes, with Benji, you could get another writer. The nucleus of the show is this and this. But that was just running on fumes. Like, even when Artie came in, Artie was just like the donut in your car. When you're, when you pop a flat, you put on the fucking spare, and you're really, this isn't a good year. It's not even a, whatever, Gumo tire. It's shit. And not to say Artie was shit, but he was on the show when it was on the downslope. He got on right as it was tanking, like starting to tank.
When you have to wonder if Buchwald really believed that about Howard. So, look at NYPD Blue and look at MASH and the clear stars left that show. But they still carried on because those shows hired supporting actors and actresses like BJ Honeycutt and with Cheers when Shelley Long left. So nobody is irreplaceable. And I wonder if Buchwald doesn't believe that, or he was really just trying to blow smoke. I don't know, because it would have been in Buchwald's interest to have the show going for as long as they could, especially. It was his cash cow, sure.
Yeah, but I don't know, and he certainly made the smarter moves. Between Howard and Buchwald, it was because Howard resisted going on putting the cameras in studio for years until he stumbles into any idea that that he's always like the idea of him deciding, okay, I'm going to get rid of everybody in the studio, and we want to make it like someone gassing him up and blowing smoke up his ass, saying we don't want to see Benji anymore. He's going to be off, whatever. Okay, so now there's less to look at in the video, and there's less interaction because they're not directly with you, and we know that you don't write your own jokes because Benji's an admitted joke writer. So what are you actually? Just because if you put a paper bag over your head, we still know what you look like, Howard. After so many years, it's not that simple.
And he's tired. He's been tired. Robin's been sick now for a decade almost, and it was not the right. It wasn't the right decision, and it certainly was horrible timing to showcase just the two of them because they're awful.
Yeah, they're the weakest links. I mean,
they're terrible.
And when they would have these things, now more recently, anybody who's still listening to the show, when they would have Mehmet come in or Shuli, who's a hack, and he's always just been he's always been that, I don't know, it's like a Hollywood party where you invite the doorman in. And because you just want to fill out the room a little more, and this forced labored attempt to make it like it used to be when you have these paneling things go on, it's just so painfully antiseptic almost.
It's antiseptic. It's tired. It's forced. And by the way, Shuli reminds me of like Jason's third cousin, like as bad as Jason is and what a rat he is and just a tub of turd lard. Right. Shuli is just a rung below him.
Oh God, he's
in my
worst.
opinion, he's horrible. He's not funny. He's annoying. He's just he's the worst kind of colleague. Yeah, he's the worst person you'd want to have, on your team at work.
Oh, yeah. And I have not forgotten, guys, some of you were asking about the Hurricane Sandy saga, and that, believe it or not, is going to be probably longer than the 15 Foundation saga because it's so much cringe. And yeah, we will eventually get to it. I'm just not sure when, but it's in there. And surely that's when you really get to learn to hate him as a human being, if you didn't already. So let's continue.
I kind of believe that. I believe that she was not kidding, and that she did expect Grillo to talk 15 minutes to each of the cats.
Oh Jesus! I've known people like this in my life. They actually believe their cats. Now I've heard also people say you talk to your plants, all that horse shit. Why don't you talk to the TV and tell it how much you appreciate all the service it's given you over the years or whatever? I mean, come on.
I would talk to my dog and say, holding out a piece of steak, do you want this?
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have long conversations with him about my problems.
The dog wouldn't reply. A little more basil, please.
Yeah. Yeah, I could just a little bit more oregano, and this would be perfect.
Exactly.
Yeah, she's
nuts.
At my house, I was amazed. I felt like I was reading.
What's going on in that apartment?
It was a joke, Howard. I had to leave them instructions as to how to, what to do for the cats because they were watching my cats while I went away on vacation. And instead of just writing
A
here,
cold
do this,
letter.
this, I made it a joke.
A joke.
I don't believe that. Remember, this is the NPD 101. It's a joke.
I don't believe that either. I also like the sound effect of the horses whinnying in the background.
Because somebody has to take care of Blaze.
Isn't the point of having a cat? I'm not a cat person. I'm a dog person. Isn't the point of having a cat you don't have to take care of it?
Yeah, you really don't. You just make sure the food is refilled and the water is refilled, and just change the litter. That's pretty much it. I had to cat sit for one guy's fucking, and it wasn't even cat sit. It was literally, here's $10. Go in, change stuff when I'm not there, and take the tenner off the table. Boom. Okay.
Right.
That was it.
I've done that, and I haven't even seen I never even saw the cats when I would change the litter box and throw more of that dry crap food in the bowls. I never saw them. They were hiding.
Same. It was just to feed my hedgehog and my cats, and I'm like, oh God, Jesus! You don't mean feed the hedgehog to the cats, do you? Okay, fair enough.
Fucking letter. But me being the good employee, thinking, wow, if I don't talk to the cats, maybe they're gonna be upset.
Did you talk to the cat? Did you talk to the cat?
I don't know. Yeah, I was like, good cat.
He's probably afraid you had a camera on there to see how you treated the
No,
cat.
I was afraid that if he screwed up, she'd go nuts on him. Right, Grillo?
Absolutely.
Be honest. Everyone's afraid she's going to go nuts.
The funny thing is, I didn't.
The whole place is afraid she's going to go nuts.
I didn't see the letter there. I didn't see the letter when I first came in, so I just figured. I started looking in the cabinets and I saw all this the cat food in the can. So I opened it up. There was 4 cats. I put 4 cans of cat food all over.
Right.
Then I find the letter. And the 2 cats are eating all the cat
Hold on, guys. Bear with us.
food. I see the letter and it says, "Do not give them canned cat food." I was like, "Oh man!"
Girl was fighting the cat for the food.
I was like, "Get away, get away!" The cat's like flipping out.
You're throwing it out the window. That would have been the end of it. Oh man!
Jesus Christ Almighty!
It's funny that this started out as a Stuttering John Robin fight.
Mm-hmm.
So this stuff is, to me, it's gold. It shows her complete craziness.
Yep.
And now you have other people chiming in, and at least it gets the spotlight off of Stuttering John.
Well, yeah. The thing is, okay, so guys, this is again 95, if I'm not mistaken. And so again, she's cured, right? That's the big joke. The whole year, believe me, I found some clips. As I was telling Deborah, I went through them in 95 archive and just started isolating stuff around the book release time. And she could not get goofed on more. On the other hand, it was like manna to her because she was getting attention.
You have to be a narcissist to embrace that kind of negative attention on you and just to have the spotlight on you, good or bad. She loved it.
But also
I would hide.
But also to release that book, having all that awful, not just, let's forget about how terribly it was written. Let's forget about how awful it makes the protagonist look, meaning in this case, Robin. And there's nothing in it it's a reprehensible piece of literature, if you want to call it that.
I think she sees her name and her picture, and she doesn't give it any thought what's inside, that it's just pablum inside.
Yeah. And Judith Regan especially, I mean, to have your name associated with a book that horrible and that horrific, I guess Judith's just as big a hooker as anybody else.
Well, Judith was given her own imprint from, I think it was it Random House?
I believe so.
And I think she probably at the time was just capitalizing on the popularity because, Betty Thomas separated herself pretty quickly from Howard as the director of Private Parts.
In what way?
She never went on the show.
Okay.
She never called in the way Mary McCormick called in all the time. She came in and, kind of a middling actress.
Yeah.
But Howard would talk reverently about Betty Thomas, but not a phone call, not an appearance, nothing.
Well, I mean, the return, and I know people will bitch and moan, and they'll get all kinds of like, oh, it made money. Guys, it did not make money. It lost money because you base it on the theatrical run. You don't go, well, it made its money back on video. Studios don't want to hear that shit. They don't have to shove crap in boxes and say, okay, we're selling this now any way we can to get it in the fucking black. And in the perception trumps reality. So even if it did make its money back eventually, they don't want that. They want a hit. Every studio wants a hit out of the gate.
Plus, they were so dopey. I went to the Private Parts premiere because I worked for a cable company, and we were given comp tickets from HBO. So all the rabid fans got in for free.
Yeah.
Howard wasn't at the premiere. There were, I think Gary was there, but so I wasn't going to pay to watch it again. It was fine to go into the city and watch it for free with my coworkers and friends, but I wouldn't pay for that crap. And I was hardcore.
Yeah, well, so I should ask you what was your biggest complaint about the film? Other than the fact that it was science fiction.
I was surprised by Gary just being in the scenes where he was trying to get women to take their tops off or to show their breasts. So there was no mention, really, no reference of Gary. Mm-hmm. I didn't think that it was going to be about Howard's relationship with his wife, which was over by the time the movie came out.
Exactly.
It was really like I hate this phrase, but it was like a non-starter. I kept waiting for the big thing to happen, and it just didn't happen.
Yeah.
You know, it just ended with him and his and Mary McCormick in the airport with one or the two of the girls, and that was it.
Well, they said it cost $28 million. Did you see that $28 million on the screen ever?
I'm surprised it made $28 million.
That was the cost.
Oh, that was the cost. No, it was totally low. It was totally lowbrow.
Yeah.
I mean, Fred's wife was in it. She played one of the operators at NBC. Allison played one of the operators at NBC. It was,
right.
You know, they got Paul Giamatti. The guy must have just been on the cusp of breaking through because
he was.
He soared. But no, I'm trying to think of the other actors who were in it. There's no name actors.
Not really. Allison Janney was in it.
Oh, yeah, right. Allison Janney and
then Edie Falco was in it.
Yes, Edie Falco was in it. This was 4 years before The Sopranos or 2 years before The Sopranos.
Yep, just about.
Yeah, and she, I think Kelly Bishop may have been in it. I think she played his mother. She was on Gilmore Girls and.
Yeah, people that eventually would become something.
Yes,
they would eclipse the star.
Nobody was anything that Allison probably just did it as a favor to someone.
Yeah. And never mentioned, we're not even going to bother the Me Tooing he was doing to Mary McCormick by his own admission that, God, I mean, that if you admit it, like, this is the thing, that's something that, because she's not complaining, there was scuttlebutt over the years that she fucked him to get the part. And it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, it's been rampant in Hollywood since the dawn of time.
Well, she's fairly talentless.
Yes.
So it wouldn't surprise me either, because it wasn't like she was a decent actor who just needed a break. Anything I saw her in that stupid Major Crimes or whatever crap show she was on USA, and she was just as wooden and sterile as ever, just with a facelift. You know, so I wouldn't be surprised if she gave him some favors.
I remember the story about there's a story about Sharon Stone, like, because she was just famous for doing like shitty TV movies and whatever, you know. Her agency like fired her, basically. Like, they got rid of her at one point, and her ex-agent said if she can get in your room, she'll close the deal. You know, which is very Marilyn-ish, and that's what she wanted to be, her generation's Marilyn. But I digress. We'll go more into this, guys. I'm sorry we get these little tangents.
The last time, all right, so the point is that you and Robin are not getting along. Now I understand.
The last time I took
all right.
We get along fine. If I need something, I talk to John, but I don't have anything else to do.
So there you go.
These personalities.
This is not 10 minutes later, Fillmore, that she's saying we get along fine. If I need something, I ask him. She was fuming just 10 minutes ago.
Yes, saying, I don't know why they want me to sign a card to someone who hates me.
Yes, the they, whoever they are.
Right.
And she had the crazy eyes flashing and such, and now she's fine.
Jesus, yeah, exactly. There was so much Robin, just so much Robin material from 1995 because of the book, but then I think it's essentially because of the book. And it's during, I'm going to send you the clip if I have it already. And if you blink, you'll miss it. But at one point, they're talking about her book, and he says, he blurts out, I got a meeting with Ratso. The only reason to meet Ratso was to get his new book out, Stat. And I guarantee that was only done to, and we said it before, I'm sorry, guys, repetition. The only reason for that book was to put Robin in her place.
You know, it's one thing for these two bookended NPDs to come together and forge a career, but it's another to think that they're stabbing each other too.
Oh, yes.
That's really scary.
Well, yes, I've wondered often, and I've wanted to ask Bob about the, and I have tried to in the past to try to work around how two people with NPD could work together if the whole design of their personality is meant to suck all the attention out of the room from anybody else. So how could it would be like two north magnets, right, repelling each other, you'd think.
Well, I would guess, and I'm sure I'm either 50% right or wrong, is that it's because she's an extrovert and he's an introvert, or covert and overt. That's the only way that those two forces could work, I guess.
But also because they recognize that each one is integral to their integral to their, all of a sudden I'm fucking 79. Each one is integral to their continued success.
But I don't need. Do you think they gave that much thought?
No, it would be subconsciously. It would be like, I need this guy. He needs me. I need this broad. I'm going to, I can't make these OJ jokes unless I have a black woman or a black person in the studio working with me.
Oh, yeah, that was, and then, his way of disarming her was to call her beautiful and talk about her breasts and,
song
how sexy she
parodies.
was. Yes. And she ate that shit up.
Yes, she did. And yeah, so, I mean, but when there was an occasion like this to poke at her, it always had to be couched in a kind of joking way, but it had to be done. Like there was no way they were not going to go after her for stuff like this.
He went after her for everything that he could. The apartment, the big portrait, the self-portrait in her hallway in the apartment in the city.
Yeah, the horse.
The horse, Blaze, the cats, the jogging, the car racing, flying out to California, the blood, the green drinks, Dr.
Everything.
Ronnie, every single thing about Ronnie, about Robin, the fake molestation, you name it, it was right for him.
RobinIsWrong.com.
That's so good. And because she's such a overt narcissist, she enjoyed that kind of attention.
That's exactly right. So here we go, guys. More of the ugliness.
The conflicts occur at the workplace.
Not
they
with
just
me.
seem to occur.
I say you
not
have a
with me.
personality conflict
See, not with her. See,
I'm out of your life. No problem.
Well.
See what I'm saying? It's like
So if we have a conflict, you're out of my life, no problem. Okay. So there's the discard, guys. It's all there in the blueprint.
What happened to the mediator, Robin?
I tried talking to John to only have him turn to me and say, I don't like you. I don't want to have anything.
I said I don't like you after you told me that the you up the air is phony. How could you like somebody that's phony?
Look, 2 days after this incident occurred, I went to John and I said, John, I'm really hurt that I hurt you.
But how can I believe that?
I'm really hurt that I hurt you.
I'm hurt that I'm such a horrible person.
Yeah.
And again, now they're back to the John issue and the John argument. I mean, her moods are just swing wildly.
Yes. And so I guess someone was privately asked me about the what's his name, Mr. X, Tony.
Yes.
And what was the situation like? What kind of relationship do you think they would have had? And I think I said, I think Robin is one of those people. Robin is one of those women who in this case, talks a good game, but at the end of the day, just wants to be told what to do by someone and have someone else make the decisions. So if someone else decides for her and it turns out bad, well, she can bitch and moan about it. But I think that guy absolutely he wore the pants and he told her what for, and he wouldn't take her shit. And that's what she wanted. That's what she needed. With her, it's bluster. I'm independent. I'm this, but no, she isn't.
Well, we were just talking about Paul Giamatti, and he plays a character in the Showtime program Billions.
Okay.
And he's the high-powered DA for the Southern District of New York, similar to Elliot Spitzer. And he makes all the shots. He's hard-charging, and he goes to see to some sadist at night, and she makes him strip down, and she beats him, and she calls him a piece of shit, and she urinates on him, and he needs that. He needs to be controlled and dominated. And that's his dirty secret. One of his dirty secrets on the show. So there are a lot of people like that who just want to be tied up at the end of the day. And
well, in that case, wouldn't the psychology be, well, he's paying for it, so it's still him controlling his own domination?
I think she almost went number 2 on him once. I can't imagine, wanting that. But
thank you for telling me not to watch that show.
Otherwise, I recommend it.
Okay.
That's off the air. It's fine.
Oh, listen, she apologized to you.
And I tried.
Do it on the air. Do it on the air, Robin.
To me.
She made
do it on the air, Howard.
Do what on the air?
She should do it on the air. On the air is the real Robin. Do it on the air.
Do what?
Apologize to me on the air, Robin. No, off the air when Howard can't hear you. Right? Do it on the air. Come on. I want to hear the real Robin.
Was it you that mentioned, was Bowie said to Howard one time, fire me on the air?
Yes, I had said that to you
in the previous recording.
Yes, and Howard refused, and he said, "Don't put me in that position, Gary. Don't force me. Don't do that. I do everything on the air." And I think he may have at some point hit the button and said, "You're fired." But of course, it was more fodder for the rest of the show.
Yeah.
But Gary's sitting here. He's looking a little bit uncomfortable. Gorilla's saying nothing.
Yeah.
Poor John is really wearing his heart out, and Robin is just laughing maniacally.
Oh yeah,
and protesting.
What was it? She complained one time about they always use that. There's always the photo of me with my mouth open. Well, it always is open.
Yeah, when is it not? It's just that wild, just that like a
maniacal.
Yeah, very maniacal, right?
Oh, God, it's
leopard.
Her pet lizard said, "If any bugs fly into your mouth, can I have them?"
She does. She looks like a lizard or a leopard or a
something. I mean, it's a hyena, really, but and it's most apt. The thing is with her also, we've talked about this, and we'll continue to talk ad nauseum about how any attention's good attention. But in this case, again, also reminder from the first half: if she's laughing, she's uncomfortable. If she's laughing, it could be, the laugh means a lot of things. It could mean something is really funny, but there's a different kind of laugh. So there's variations of the laugh.
Yes, she's using. She uses her laughter for all situations, and you have to be able to determine.
Yes.
Is this the nervous laughter? Is this the hysterical laughter?
Is this the uncomfortable? Is this the I don't want to confront laughter?
Right.
Is this the
defensive laughter?
Defensive laughter. Right. Exactly. I'm being attacked. I got to do this because. There are the times that she doesn't laugh, and she will, of course, walk out. She's done it a couple times, and then most notably was the Cleveland book signing, which at one point we have to go through. One of my favorite parts of that is how she kept saying, "John, I'm just tired. If you're tired, why are you standing in the office as opposed to sitting in your cubicle?"
And didn't she fly home and she went to Broadway the night before? She always goes to plays and stuff. As soon as she comes home, she gets off the plane and she goes to see a show or goes to dinner and stuff. And so if you're that tired from a book promotion, go to your apartment, take a bath, go to bed early.
Yeah, luxuriate.
Yeah.
They're full of shit. And it must be that's the one thing. I'm so tired. She got that from Howard. He
6 a.m. he's tired until 10:59 a.m. and that was what it was like 5 days a week when he was on the air back then.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, yes, to his credit, there was a time, especially movie time, like from 1995 to 1998, I would say. Yeah, there was absolutely a reason for him to be tired. But after that, I don't know why.
Well, that's all he had to do. So I know there's someone in my family who was very successful, and I said he should have been successful. His wife did everything for him, raised the kids, did the dry cleaning, the cooking, everything. All he had to do was get up, shave, go to work, and make some good decisions. And he better have been successful. So I really don't. I used to feel bad for Howard having to get up so early, but that's long gone.
God, if you'd known what he was making, you would not have felt one bit sorry for him, because I mean, Christ, there's one clip, I can't remember which one, but he was giving John shit. I think Bob and I will cover this one. He was telling Bob, sorry, I fucked up. He was telling John, when I was at NBC, I had to borrow money from my father to get a car.
Oh, that Plymouth Valley.
He was making $200,000 a year.
He's full of that. Unreal.
Unfucking believable gaslighting.
That's when he announced to Howard that he had wanted to have nothing further.
Because I don't believe her off the air. Howard, she just told me it's all phony off the air. I'm supposed to believe her apology off the air?
I don't care.
Of course, because really,
I can care less.
Be open-minded for a second.
I'm being open-minded. This is retarded.
Howard,
I've never heard such nonsense.
Howard, listen. Off the air.
OJ is running around free, and I'm listening to this.
No, Howard, off the air, she tells me that everything off the air is phony. Then she apologizes. Am I supposed to believe that? Come on.
Listen, let me tell you something.
I mean, they were all nuts.
If you feel Robin is abusive to you...
No, I think Robin just...
When you feel Robin is abusive to you, you're right. You shouldn't have anything to do with her. That's...
Okay, so Howard being strangely the voice of reason.
Yeah, that is an odd comment coming from him.
Yes.
Considering...
He needs his people to abuse.
Well, considering Allison said that to him just a couple of years later on that phone call, about being abusive to her.
Yeah.
So... Yeah, he's we've said it before, he's a good conductor.
Yep.
Jesus.
Because I mean, like if a whole minute goes by and you don't hear from him, obviously this is a person that understands a little bit about how there has to be an ebb and flow in the show. Now you take that away and you just make it him, and it's this cult of personality. Who gives a shit?
Well, and he's not
interesting.
No, he's not. He doesn't read. He doesn't listen to music. He watches stupid ass TV shows.
He doesn't play music. He's got guitars all over the wall, right. like Crazy High's fucking vintage axe shop.
Yeah, and he's got he's a dilettante with his hobbies. We've detailed all the hobbies that he's been through.
Oh yeah,
and so what is there to talk about?
Not much
from him.
Not much. It's a little astounding, but so yeah, and this is the thing. He had the money. He could have been a jet setter during his vacation times. He could have taken Allison to everywhere and had the best of everything and talked all about it. He didn't. I mean, just that insular. I mean, if he's Howard Hughes now, what was he like then?
Yeah, and nobody would have begrudged him if he went on those trips with Allison, or if he talked about what he did the night before or the day before, because that's what we wanted to hear from him, because he was such a guy that at some point, a lot of us, when I say us, I mean the people who I grew up with, could relate to him. Mm-hmm. But he's just stopped. He stopped everything.
Yeah. And yeah, it's a shame, because I mean the show really could have been much better for much longer had he just stayed the course.
It's absolutely the case. It's not a necessary function of the show to have you two get along. Well, when push comes to shove, I'll shove you out before.
Of course.
But I would never. It doesn't matter to me. I could care less.
Robin doesn't have a problem with anybody. So for your paperback, could you make an appendix where you list all the people you don't have a problem with? There are so many people that you have problems with. How could you say you don't have a problem with anybody?
Who does she have a problem with?
A whole list of ex-interns.
Oh.
Well, that's the old one.
I love this. When would this happen today?
I'm watching Gary, because we're watching the video of this from the E! Show, and the look on Gary's face is what he said. Who didn't she have a problem with? She had a problem with. She had a problem with Howard.
Well,
she would talk to him.
Okay, so there's in what let's, if we want to go into that, Gary's referencing her fucking book, her her Asimov, her turn at doing science fiction, and okay, she's got a problem with the teacher who had a problem with her because she was cousins with someone, her older cousin. She had it in for her. She had a problem with her mother, her father. clearly her brother, because his house foreclosed and she didn't give a shit about it. And we never heard, that she helped him on the side. She had a problem with her bosses every time. She had a problem with Howard. She had a problem with, every guy she was seeing. She had a problem with her she had a problem with her psychiatrist because she wanted her to stay longer. She had a problem with her little sister.
And the little sister's mother, she had a problem with her too.
Limo drivers who would actively avoid her call so someone else would have to pick her up. I mean, this is a person that has and if you do, I do actually recommend reading her book, if only to explain fully the blueprint of why we hate her. And the idea that someone could release such a piece of shit, making themselves out to be a piece of shit, and going on book signings and smiling beatifically, like, "Oh, thank you for buying the book." It's a study in narcissism, but it's also a study in extreme stupidity.
Well, she's a very distasteful person. She's a disagreeable person. She tried that hard Scrabble roots, like Carol Burnett had, but Robin didn't have them. And I think that people, certainly now, people just see through that kind of stuff.
Do you mean like she was trying to make it as if she came from nothing? And
absolutely.
But it said in the book, I think it's a middle class Baltimore, and she had mostly whites and like Jews and other white people in the neighborhood where she lived at the time.
Well, I mean, Baltimore has always they've had racial tensions. They've had tensions with Jews and blacks. Certainly, I think that's probably Robin's ego. She's not going to say lower middle class Baltimore. Her parents were working class, so
working class, yeah.
So I'm not really buying that.
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned Carol Burnett, because her story really is fascinating with her grandmother.
The grandmother, and the fact that a benefactor who she promised to never name gave her enough money to fly across country to New York to go to school. Yeah, to audition.
Yes. Yeah.
It's incredible.
And if you guys want some fun, there's a great interview of Dick Cavett with Lucille Ball and Carol and Lucy Arnaz.
And Lucy Arnaz, yes.
And who's also a little stunning little vixen at the time. And it was funny because it was one of the best interactions I've ever seen between two legends. And Carol and Lucy, I believe, shared the same birthday. And I actually don't know if they share the same birthday. No, maybe not. But the story was that Lucy sent Carol flowers on her birthday every year. And then the day she died was on her birthday. And after she found out, and then the flowers arrived immediately after she found out from Lucy.
Lucy had a standing order to send flowers to Carol.
Yes.
And that was a pretty fascinating interview. Listeners can find it on YouTube.
Yep, on Dick Cavett.
I remember Lucy Arnaz seemed a little bit surprised that how close her mother was with Carol. I think that might have been, Lucy was like 16 at the time, Lucy Arnaz?
No, she a little bit older than that. I think she probably 20, I would say. Because it would have been the time of the, not Life with Lucy, the second show.
The Lucy show? Yeah.
I think it's the second or third. I think she might have had 4 incarnations of the show. Either way, the first 3 were successful. That was the 70s one, obviously, where, it was more slapsticky than anything.
Right.
Yeah. And it was a great interview because Carol just destroys the room at one point. When they start talking about names, and they ask, "What's your middle name?" and he goes, "It's what was it?
Alvin or something?
Alvin or no? Alvy or something like that. I can't remember.
Like that."
And he's just, "What's wrong with that?" And Carol just blurts out, "It's terrible."
And didn't Dick ask Carol if she got hit on by Hollywood producers or directors? And he expressed surprise that she said no, because prior to that, Carol had said to Dick, "Oh, I passed you once in New York City on the streets." And Dick said, "Did I say hi?" And Carol said no. So she referenced saying, "Well, I passed you. You didn't try to hit on me."
Yeah. Well, and if anybody wants a more recent interview, check out George Stroumboulopoulos or House of Strombo. There's a couple of web channels. He's a Toronto kid, and he interviewed her on his show, and it was fantastic. She's older, but hasn't lost a single bit of the funny. And I love Carol Burnett. I loved her growing up. It was just for that show. It was just unbelievable.
Great show.
Yeah, never get that again.
You know what, Gary? Just get with the program today. Today. What is your problem today? Who do I have a problem with today?
John.
No, I don't. John has a problem with me.
She's been nice to John.
It's John's fault, not mine.
Well, and of course, now she's getting angry. She's getting that look on her face, and she's getting that shrill tone of voice, the same way she yelled at Ganji, and she said, "I told you I didn't want to talk about it. Now get out." That's going to come soon.
Oh, yes.
Look, what did I say? Gary can't even hear me. I said, I went to John 2 days after he blew up to try to apologize to him. And
I heard
Gary
that.
now says, I have a problem with
I heard that. I just as the on air, Gary. Just kidding around.
Well, that's the point, Robin. Why couldn't you apologize to me on the air, Robin?
Oh, come on.
Why should she apologize to you?
Because if she's going to, be
That's
that way.
the show, though.
I know. Well,
that's why didn't you apologize to Ralph?
And I've only been doing this
on
for
the show when you woke him up.
I did.
No, off the air.
Grillo leaves.
Yeah. You want to leave the scene of the crime. Absolutely.
She's just gesturing wildly, and she's like pounding the desk for emphasis and
trying to shout them down, by the way.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. That's a standard Howard thing too. Anytime there's some guest, pot them down, shout over them. That's how you win your argument.
No, roll the E-tape.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, there's no chemistry going on, or no one's aware, rather. So Robin's really angry, Howard is laughing, Gary's a little nervous, and John still demands an apology. So nobody's in sync with each other at all in this studio.
I said, listen.
You're right.
If on the E show, it was only. I said, listen. If
I don't watch the E show.
If I upset Ralph,
all right, listen. I've had enough of this. Get out of here. I could care less.
Well,
I really could care less.
All right, well, you brought me in. I don't care.
I didn't know it was such a heavy thing. For goodness sake.
I hate when people make that mistake. I was
going to say, I was just thinking, Robin said it before, Howard just said it now. You could not care less. That's
right.
These morons don't even know basic phrases.
There's that, and when people type would of.
It's like, no, it's have, would have,
I
should
swear
have.
I swear to God, I have a cousin who, if not for my sister, she never would have graduated high school, because my sister wrote all her fucking reports for her, and so when I see that, I cringe, and I have to actually fight the urge to correct it, not because I'm some kind of mad genius, but because it's so basic, and no one ever corrected them. I'm like, what happens if I would? What happens if I did? What kind of shit would I be in for?
Mrs. Millar, 7th grade English, sound it out, and we would have to sound out the words in the phrases. I still remember. Would have, is, be, am, are, was, were, been, being. You had to conjugate the verb.
Wonderful. Jesus, I could have used her.
Don't end it.
It was nothing.
You want more? With the
say a couple of things. The reason we've had those great shows where we reveal that Ganji is broken up with his girlfriend.
You get the information. No,
I get the information.
And then you give it to me.
And you have been, see, but there was a time that you were very honest and didn't go on the air.
Listen to me, John. My advice to you, I'm just going to give advice. You don't have to take it. Robin, you don't have to take it. John, my advice to you, you have to evaluate each person and decide the level of intimacy you want to have with them.
This is surprisingly, like, from Howard, actually level-headed and correct, but he is right. I mean,
he is on target. I was just thinking about how I guess John didn't learn his lesson because he confided in Robin 12 years later about the Tonight Show gig.
Yeah,
and she spilled. She screwed him. She didn't spill anything, but she screwed him.
She screwed him on the air, not after the fact, but not before. But I was actually amazed, really amazed that secret didn't get to Howard by her in that time, because he told Artie didn't say a word because Artie's a loyal person and he's trustworthy. I mean, in terms of certain things, obviously you can't trust him not to stay clean. You can't trust him to stay clean, apparently, unless there's a threat of jail. And with Robin, though, I can't believe she wouldn't have gone straight to Howard immediately.
Well, do we know the timing of that? Like when John discussed it with Robin and then when it came out on the air?
Early 2004,
No, I'm
late
sorry.
2003.
I meant to say, I apologize. I meant to say the time frame from when John told Robin to when it came out on the air when John told Howard.
Oh, he told him 2 weeks before he was leaving. Before, like he put in his notice and he had the job in his hand.
Do you think it's possible that Robin told Howard and then Howard just kept all of his anger bottled up and just unleashed it? No?
Not a chance. No, I believe Howard was absolutely the last to know because on purpose. I think because Chiasano had to know because he dealt with John generally about anything. So he had to hand his notice into Chiasano. Chiasano would have then told Howard.
So it's interesting that Howard didn't get mad at Robin or Chiasano.
Or Artie.
Telling him. Yeah, right. He didn't get mad at any of them.
I think in the back of his mind, he was. But ultimately, he decided, well, like, I think he thought the real betrayal, the big kahuna, the big cheese betrayal was John leaving and made it about Leno, but it was about John.
Yeah, I mean, he made it about Leno, but he also threw in some digs to John. But
certainly.
At the end, he was conciliatory, but yeah, he was so angry. God.
Yeah. And he was vicious. And if I were John, like I give John full credit for sitting there and taking it. But and he did give it back a little bit. And at one point when he mentions to Robin, like, you know, you were there. I told you. She flies into the rage you see just a few minutes ago. That, you know, don't you dare like bust me for. Don't you bring honesty into this.
Don't confuse facts with fiction.
Exactly. So let's keep going. Let's see what Freud Stern has to say.
And then that's that. You understand? Don't be so obsessed.
Okay.
Don't be a groupie, is what I'm saying.
Well, it's not being a group.
Okay. My advice to Robin: don't talk to John.
That's what I'm doing.
And stop writing the letters to your cats. That's all of this.
Stop it. I was writing a funny letter. I'm sorry it was, again, you can't even joke with these wackos around.
Well, why? But see, the reason why you can't joke is because everyone's afraid if they dare screw up, you're going to rip them a new a-hole. And it's happened.
Right. In the last...
Howard,
Ooh, Jesus Christ.
You know, the guy's pretty courageous for saying all this shit that we all the listeners thought about and knew. You know,
John had balls, and I'm sure he was as big a drinker as he is now. But this is sober, you know, balls.
Yeah. And I'm still laughing at Fred with the typewriter in the background and the old theme song. And Robin she never got angry at Fred for playing all those crazy sound effects that made her sound like a lunatic that she is.
Well, yeah. And the other thing is, I wonder how much John felt he was undroppable because of his interviews and because of you know, being such a target, that he felt the balls to ask this, to say this. I think it was always, if he was under Howard's protection, like if Howard loved him, if Howard thought he was so valuable, he could say whatever he liked to Robin.
You know, I think the only person who has had that and has it is JD. Remember, Howard would refer to JD as the son he never had, and he was like, "I love this kid. I just love him." And
won't pay him, but
oh, of course not. Oh, he shows his love different ways. But nobody would dare cross Howard after Jackie. No one really crossed Howard.
Yeah, and sporadically during the Artie years, but Artie would be more passive aggressive by just not showing up, and you know, doing certain things, sleeping on the air. Which, I mean, drug addiction or not, I'm sure that was passive aggressively Artie saying "fuck you" and "fuck this show. I don't care. You're not going to fire me anyway."
Well, and imagine, you know, Artie spiraling like that, seeing Howard not caring, not helping, not addressing it.
Just making his habit worse.
Yeah. It's
and being even more depressed, working for like a soulless asshole.
Yeah, and having Gary make more than him, and all of that stuff. I mean, I'm like about to shoot up heroin right now thinking about all that. You know,
let's keep you off the needle.
And I took care of the cats. I was giving the cats spring water.
I have seen no evidence of Robin ripping anyone a new a-hole in the last 6 months. I have not. I have not.
Well,
have
I
you?
don't know. Robert's got a point. She's got a point.
I have not seen evidence. I have actually. I'm not totally convinced, but I am.
Well, ask Grillo if that's the truth. I don't know.
Yeah, Grillo's her assistant.
Bring Grillo in here, and then we'll see if that's the truth.
Robin, should we
do whatever you will? Do whatever you will.
I have.
Okay, look down. The computer's no longer. It's not there yet, but it will be.
Yet.
Yeah, but she's looking down.
You know, Howard is just such an idiot because, you know, who's the last person in any organization to know what's going on? The boss.
Yep.
Right? So, Howard, I haven't seen any evidence in the last 6 months. You're never going to see it. The boss never sees the people who fuck up and goof off and, you know, time their emails so they're sent out at 5:15.
Yes.
Whenever, you know, he's just so clueless.
Well, willfully clueless, except when he wants to know.
Oh, then he knows everything, and then he
attacks. That's correct. What's that expression? He loves knowing.
I've seen no evidence that you have ripped anyone a new a-hole. I really have not. I'd be the first one.
She does not beat them with a bruises show.
Jackie. That's great.
And the Perry Mason music is now coming out.
Absolutely.
Well, to be honest, I don't. You know, in the past 6 months, no, Robin has not ripped me an a-hole.
Okay, so there it is.
Honestly, it's honest. She does at times get a little testy, and it seems like it's gonna.
She's keeping a job now. This is not right.
Testy, fine.
No. People get testy.
But me.
People, wait. People.
Oh my God, she is. This is Robin. Are you like me? Because this is the same year as the Sally Jesse Raphael appearance.
Yeah.
You can't not see that after you've seen it.
No,
you cannot
now
unhear it.
No, that strident shriek is just etched in my head, and I'm looking at her with that mouth wide open and that piranha-looking teeth and the hands like praying mantis. Yeah. It's disturbing.
It is disturbing. Yeah.
See, I'm tired of it. I am really tired of my testiness being blown out of proportion.
Am I blowing it out of proportion? Did I blow it out of proportion? Did I blow it out of proportion? Did I blow it out of proportion?
All bosses get testy.
Okay, that's not a problem.
Ralph, come in here, Ralph. Come in here. Ralph's got a good Robin story.
Get out of
2
here.
days ago. No, 2
I
days
didn't
ago.
invite you into this.
She was yelling at Ralph 2 days ago.
Okay, now this is the interesting part. Howard is fully aware that she's about to fucking blow, and he's seen it 1,000 times, so that's why he's like, get the fuck out.
Well, you know, I kind of think that he wants her to blow. I think that he gets off on that.
But he has to make it. But he does have to make it. And for all I know, he just sent a little message to Ralph to come in. Because he gets all the things on his board there, and whatever system they were using at the time, and he has to. It's a good cop, bad cop. He wants him to come in, but he wants he wants to be like, you're going to get shit from me. Get the fuck out of here. I'm Robin. Look at me. I'm on your side.
Right.
But not really. This is great.
Get out of here.
Well, there you go.
I can't stand his face.
Hey, why am I getting yelled at?
But that's not.
You know why you're getting yelled at.
Testy, but I could do the same thing, and it's all terrible. It's Robin going.
Why am I
crazy.
testy with you? You know exactly why.
No, I know.
Because you sit in that apartment of yours and you come up with stuff the day before when people give you 2 weeks to think of things. That's a whole nother issue I got with him.
What does that have to do with anything?
Get out. Get out.
But you know, you can do that. It's no big deal, right?
His fucking stylist, who looks like he just got rode up hard. It's
he looks like Spicoli.
Someone wants us to do an origin of Ralph thing, and I'm like, okay, I don't know that I have archives that go that far back, but we have, we have stories, we have like being recounted and what have you, but the real you need visuals for Ralph stuff.
Did I talk about that I met Ralph?
Yeah, I don't think so. Not yet. Not on any show we've recorded yet.
Oh, it's not such a scintillating story, but I'll save it for another time.
But you did say he was cool to you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But I don't get that relationship. Yeah, he was fine, but
I do.
I know you do.
Robin is, ooh boy.
Can I just say something about Robin?
Remember? Let me just say something.
No,
You won't leave. You will not leave.
Let me.
You know what? I was going to defend her, but screw it.
They told you to leave. I don't need defending.
No, he's the last one to defend. She can defend herself.
I was going to defend her, but screw it. Screw her.
All right, listen. You know what? I had so many things to do today,
Right, listen,
and you're ruining my show.
I didn't ask to do this.
You know what? I don't even care. Goodbye. Don't sign any cards, please.
I wouldn't.
I don't care. I never saw.
Did I ask to bring us up on the air? I didn't ask.
His mayor makeup wardrobe styled by Ralph.
Styled, but right. And when Ralph came walking in, it said Howard Stylist under his picture. But Jesus, God,
unbelievable.
All right, take off your headphones and leave the room.
Thank you very much.
I got to get back to my show.
Well, this has been a pleasure.
And leave her alone.
I'm fine.
And don't talk to each other.
What a nightmare that was.
You're not kidding, OJ.
So that's the full thing, guys. Any closing thoughts on that particular segment, my dear?
Yeah, Robin was nuts, and Robin is nuts. And as you said, I would recommend everybody trying to go to the discount rack and get her book.
Oh, yes.
And read it, because if people are skeptical or they just don't know enough about her earlier years, read that book and you'll understand a whole lot better.
Yeah, we had so many people, even on the YouTube channel. I think one of the worst, I guess, liked episodes of ours is the Sally, the aforementioned Sally on Sally appearance that Robin did, and it's mostly just sycophants. Just will not hear anything bad about Queen Robin, but there are not too many of those left. And the fact is, I think most people hate her more than Howard at this point. But it's as hard as that seems to believe. But that appearance, when I first saw it, because I remember sending it to Benjamin because he had never heard of it. He'd heard of it, but he'd never seen it.
Right.
And he said, "I'm absolutely watching you guys take on this one because it's a complete train wreck. It's a carnival ride."
It was the only Sally Jesse Raphael show I ever watched.
Uh-huh. And you saw it in real time at the time.
Oh, sure, of course. Well, I had it on my VCR, yeah.
What was your take at the time? Because you were a fan.
I was a huge fan. I thought, the word strident I've used a bunch of times tonight. I remember her thinking, God, she's coming off really badly. But
being a fan, did you defend them and say, like, Sally's a bitch? The next day when you heard the spin.
I defended Robin for years. I bought into her whole single woman. The modern day Mary Tyler Moore and Mary Richards. Okay. Up against a bunch of guys in a competitive industry. Right. So I fell for her line, for different reasons, for like more personal or professional reasons. But Jesus, God, thank God I didn't follow her lead.
Did you believe the molestation when the book when you read it?
I never believed that. That is not like you and I talked about. That's not just a one-time thing that an adult does to a child. No, not if it's something that's okay. How can I explain this? It's not somebody drunk, doing something that they would never normally do. A molester is it's almost always serial. A case of it's never going to stop at one. No, it's not like let me try this and see if I like it.
Like, oops, no, the rat bit me. I'm not going to pick up that rat again. Anyway, and I'm really sorry. I know there's some people out there are going to think we're mocking it, but we're honestly not. We're basing it on a history of her bullshitting and being a complete psychopath. So,
well, and also to be fair, Fillmore, we're also basing it on people that we know who are close to us who did go through that, and we saw what they went through, and we see how they're impacted as adults now. So, that's why it's even more heinous for her to make that shit up.
Mm-hmm. And and so I recommend if people, honestly, don't take our word for it. Read the book yourself. Find it for, I think Raven's done a great job of showing people used on Amazon for like $5, or you can go on Goodreads. I don't know if Goodreads has a used option for books, but because it's not on Kindle. However, on the archive, the website, the archive, there is a digital copy that if you want, you can take it out for once you make it's a free site. You can make an account and it's been digitized. Someone scanned it. So I have.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And so I use it just to get screen caps. It's still on there and for anything I need. And maybe I'll be doing that. That'll be a little summer project to get the book made into JPEGs.
Well, I actually have a hardcover and all the soft cover, the paperbacks, because it had. She didn't have different covers, but for people who subscribe to the top level on Patreon, you can auction it off.
We'll sign it.
Yeah, exactly. We'll sign Robin's name.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you guys so much for sticking through thick and thin with us with this one. Next time we come up with something, we hope you're going to enjoy it. And from myself and the rest of us at QF, thank you so much, Deborah, for being here on this one. And thank you guys for listening.
Johnny was going to call in with the...
Later, man. Good. Thanks for calling.
All right, Eric.
Announcement.
Take care,
today,
buddy.
but he sprained his ankle.
Yeah, we'll see you.
Hey, Eric, I got to run a little.
Take care, buddy.
All right, thanks, Eric.
Oh, wait.
Go fuck yourself.
Anyone looking to go to any concerts this summer?
No.
Check out. Get pre-sale.
No one wants to go. We'll see you, buddy. Bye.
Hank, you're on the air.
Hey now, Howard. Howard.